Let's talk about today's topic. Today's we have very interesting topic to cover. The most important thing we want to cover is use cases. So today's goal, let's define the goal. So goals are very simple. Use cases, we want to cover use case. Then we want to cover test cases. And then we want to cover test plan. That's all I want to cover. Test plan most likely we'll do after break. And use case and test case we're going to cover right. Now, before we start, I just want to make sure I'm going to give you a project tonight. So we will have a project coming, which is the QA manual project, which is the first project for many of you, right? Some of you are in Agile Scrum, you might have a second project, but those who are starting a brand new career, this is the first project. So when I saw Halalia's homework, I said, wow. Initially I was thinking to give like some instruction, but I thought, no, I should do better because she inspired me. So today she made my day, right? So I thought, wait a minute. So I stopped myself, everything, all activity, and I said, let me do this part first. So I defined a project forum. So in Infotech Guide, which I think many of you have access, I created a project forum for you, where I not only give instructions, but I give a lot of details. So this will be using it. So why don't you all go to Google or Infotech. So you go to Infotech. I'll walk you through steps. If you have not signed up, you can sign up. And if you have signed up, you can easily log in. So go to Infotech. So you can search on Infotech, infotechguide.com. Many of you know infotechguide.com. 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 If you have a problem, ask your neighbor also. Infotechguide.com. And when you press enter, you should be able to see something like this page. Infotech Guide. Remember, it's a K for Kevin, guide.com. Now in About Us, click on About Us. There should be options called Forum. About Us, there is an option called Forum. Right? Relax and enjoy. About Us and Forum. And in Forum, if you see your name is not visible here, it means you have not signed up yet, right? If you have not signed up, I will click on this. If you click on that, you will have two links. So if you click on that, you will see link here, and you will have like sign up. Sign up is for those who have not registered yet. So write your first name, last name, email, and all. And those who are registered, you log in. Log in with your username and password. Majority of you who have requested, I have approved you. So you should not have any problem. You should be able to access. You normally get email whenever you sign up. So those who are first time doing, they will do sign up. You enter first name, last name, email, and phone. And those who already have username and password, log in. Right? I got Ella, your request. And please understand, when you sign up, make sure you provide your information so I can right away see that and I'll approve it. So right now I got one request from Ella. So let's see. Anyone else has done it. So now, Ella, you are approved. So you should have now access. You can log in. Right? I'm assuming most of you are able to log in because last time you have requested, and I think majority of your request is here. Now, if you go here, let me repeat again, About Us Forum. About Us Forum, if you go there, right, you will see a lot of options here. These are categories. Look for the category called Quality Assurance. Your project details I'm going to explain here throughout the day. Project is due in 3 weeks. So it is due on February 25. Project is due on February 25. I can tell you my honest experience. Whenever I worked on a project, I learn a lot, part of the project, than just attending the class, my own experience. So I always encourage that project-based learning will excite at the same time enable you to learn more. So please use this opportunity as an additional opportunity, because many times we don't have time to do project and we sometimes skip that. But now, not for you. So we want to make sure you have enough time. So you have 3 weeks to do the project. So project is due on 25. And if you click on quality assurance, right, you will be able to go through this link, which is the first link, which I just added. You can see 1 hour before I just added, right? And this was not there before. Now it is added because you've been treated very well, right? So now click on this. And when you click on this project details are well documented. So first of all, now, what is this project and all? I'm just going to quickly walk through along with our today's session. So I'll refer this page more often and we'll remain in this page. So don't come out from this page. This page is very important for us because quality assurance perspective, whenever you do manual testing, right? Manual testing, there are 3 things you need to know all the time if you want to go for job. I can give you guarantee the way you are doing homework. If you do homework, trust me, I can hire you. We do have a need, let me repeat, we do have a need to hire interns. And I'm telling you, we do have a need to hire interns. Interns is not the final job, but it is kind of additional opportunity you can get by doing the work. Again, I always look for how you do homework and you are my number 1 selection. If we get an offer, we always send you the details about it. I'm sure many of you might have received email from Rina that, hey, if you are interested in, send me resume so she can start marketing. We do have events coming, I believe on Friday. If I'm not making mistake, Fridays 24 or 17. We have event about resume interview and LinkedIn events. It's in Shambar. It's on Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Many of you must have received email. If you have not received email, see your WhatsApp. I added the picture there. So if you register that, you will be able to attend the meeting. So you can come here, ask question. This is a completely free event for our students. This is all going to help because in March timeframe, listen carefully. In March timeframe, there will be a need for the QA manual as well as automation engineering. So you can start applying QA manual if you know a little bit Agile and a little bit QA. Trust me, you don't need to be expert in order to get a job. The given that you are doing homework and labs and projects, so you can able to explain them. Sounds good so far? Okay. Now this project work is extremely important. You are going to work and you're going to build muscles. So whatever you have learned, you're going to apply the concept. So 3 things we want to make sure we understand. First is the context about our project. So whenever we say context is the company we are working on. So our context will be like example, Amazon. Our context can be Bank of America. Our context can be JP Morgan. So make sure you think about context because anytime when you start the project, you need to understand 3 things, input, process, and output. Speak with me. Input, process, and output. Input. So like example, if I'm working for Amazon, so in Amazon, who are giving me input? For Amazon, who gives input? Who gives input to Amazon? How Amazon receive inputs? First is the customer. What other way Amazon? Sorry,
Admins,
what is
the
admin?
user.
That's a customer. Sellers,
The,
sellers,
Vendors.
vendors, right? Marketing people, right?
the
Business.
search history also.
Yeah. So these are the different ways you're right. There are different ways you get inputs. When you get inputs, then you what to do with that inputs. That is what QA should understand because that will create your data flow. Speak with me. Data flow, or we call user flow. Because if you don't know the user, if you don't know the user, then you don't know anything else. For example, if I'm a customer, I'm purchasing. So I need to know the flow. First I do search. And once I do the search, then I can do the next step. Right, Ella? Right? So Ella, when you do an Amazon, if you do product search, what kind of search would you do? If you go to Amazon.com, how you search? Mhm. You search a product, right? You product by title, product by price, product by brand, product by rating, product by category, yes or no? So QA needs to know those things. That is called context. Because if you do not know user, you do not know how to do QA. Make sense or no? So context will give you functional aspect, which we talked last week, if you remember. So you need to know that. And every functional will become a UC. UC stands for use case. UC stands for use case. So we will take today, a functional aspect. Please understand, don't type too much, don't be different word. Understand that. It will really help because QA work is very simple, very easy. So think from user perspective, what user is doing to the site. Site can be Amazon, site can be Bank of America, site can be any site you can think about. Make sense or no? So you may want to see user in action, which we call observation. What we call observation. Or you can interview them and try to understand what they are doing. That will give you use case. As we talked about last week, once you have use case, you create a test cases. Do you guys agree or not? If you do not know use case, you cannot create test cases. Now, in waterfall, we call use case, and agile, we call story. Right? Many of you have studied Agile Scrum on Wednesday. So in waterfall, we call use case. In agile, we call story. And in story, we have acceptance criteria, which will be your test cases. So first question always in interview, how you start testing? A simple answer would be, first I understand the context. Speak with me. Context. And context is a big word. Context is a really big word. So context means, let me just draw it so you'll understand. Context means, like when you start any project, there will be a lot of things you will be learning. So first thing is who is your customer? You need to know who is your customer. Do you guys agree or not? What else we should know? What else we should know? Come on, help me. What else we should know? If I'm a QA and I want to start the job, what else I should know?
You need to know what functionality you need to test. What's the
Very,
customer is
very
looking
good. So you need to know the functionality. Please pay attention here. The way I teach class is quite different. So make sure you pay attention. It's not like typing game here. It's understanding functional. And functionals will come from the different modules. Do you guys agree or not? So example, shopping cart will give you different functionality and product search will give you different functionality. Do you guys agree or not? So product search works quite differently. User management works quite differently than order management. Do you guys agree or not? And shipping management, payment management works quite differently. So if I have payment management, it works quite differently. So first thing you need to understand functionality. What functionality we are offering. So functionality you can easily see on real websites or you talk to business analysts and try to understand. Now the functionality, if you are working on a brand new project, then those functionality will be documented in use case. Make sense or no? Use case or story. So use case or story. So you need to have access to this thing so you understand what functionality this system offers. Do you guys agree or not? So first thing, functionality. Without functionality, can I test it? I can, but I will not be thorough, right? Example, if I want to drive a car and I want to test everything, I may be able to test like something well exploratory. I can see and say, there is a problem, there is a problem. That's a random testing. May not give you quality, but if you know how everything works, it will give you decent quality. Do you guys agree or not? So if you work with mechanic, maybe 5 days, and what they check, engine lights, brake, they think about steering, they think about other part, they check everything. If you spend 5 days, I can give you guarantee your quality check will be improved. Yes, sir. Why? Because you are closer to the doer. So when you work with the business analyst, you will understand functionality. Do you guys agree or not? And more functionality you know, more testing you can do. Do you guys agree? Okay. What else we should know? Anina, what else we should know if you want to do testing? Customer we talk about, functional we talk about. Come on, keep going. You took more than 10 seconds. Anyone on phone? What else we should know?
We need to know what browsers we need to check.
So that's called system. We need to understand system. System in the sense of what tools and technology we are using, right? Tools and technology we are using. right? Tools. So example, we are using browser, we are using mobile device, are we using clouds, right? What we are using. Technology also we need to know programming perspective. Are we using database? Are we using any programming aspects like that? And then specification. We need to know what are the specifications I should test. Am I testing Android or am I testing iOS? Am I testing Chrome? Am I testing Safari? What am I testing? So system perspective, you should know about tools, technology and specification. Speak with me. Tools, technology and specification. So you should know, because if they are using cloud and you don't know cloud, then you should a little bit explore yourself. If they're using, let's say, some kind of technology, just like the technology called browser stack, then you should know about what is browser stack and how this works, right? If somebody is using Java, then you should think about what is Java. If somebody is using Jenkins, then you should know about what is Jenkins. If somebody is using Git, then you should know about it, because more you know about it, easier for you to test it out. Very good. What else we should know about it? Environment. Environment. Give me help here. What are the environments we have? Give me what you talk about environment means. That's the right thing. Different language. Right. So you can say environment-wise dev environment, QA environment, right? There's an environment where your system is there. Like example, user acceptance testing environment, performance environment, right? Security environment, right? Security environment. So you have to test in all. So if I'm testing in security, then I'll do security related testing. If I'm doing performance, then I'll do performance related QA, UAT, and prod. So you need to know what are the environment you have. So you can think. So example, if QA environment takes 2 days, but then every environment you need to estimate it. Yes or no? You guys agree or not? Because if I have one environment, it will take less time. If I have more environment, it will take more time. So should you know about the environment or no? You should. Yes or no? If somebody say I have a problem, would you know where the problem is? Or if I say I have a problem in production when I'm using I browser, problem become clear. Yes or no? That it is environment is production and the browser they are using is I. Do you agree or not? And you can ask which version, which operating system. Do you agree or not? Now you're narrowed down. Yes, Raj. What's the question? Can you explain a little bit better as far as how these environments are created? Means what's the difference? How the dev environment is created versus QA environment is created? They are same. Ideally, they have to be same, exactly same. The only thing is because of the cost matters, right? So production, let's say you have 5 servers. In production, there is a 5 server, but the code base, the program you are talking, it will be identical. So whatever program you are using, that will be identical here and identical here. But here you are using 5 servers, right? You're using 5 servers. Here you may be using 1 server. Why? Because it's a little bit dev environment. In QA, you will be using maybe 1 server. UAT may be using, let's say, 1 server. But in performance, normally performance, you will use 5 servers. Why? Why you will use 5 in performance? Because you want to make sure production like. Speak with me. Production like testing. Production like testing. So when you test in performance, it has to give me like a feeling about production. But in dev environment, it's just like one. A UAT QA is small because code will be exactly same, but the hardware will be different because it will cost less. But production performance testing you will do, but performance testing you're not doing throughout. You're doing once in a while. So after you complete, you're gonna stop it. So cost will not go up. Make sense or not? So in interview, people will ask you, what you recommend for the performance testing? So I would recommend is production like. Production, it's okay to say like. But now think about production has a 50,000 server. Google. Production has, it's okay to say 50,000 server. Can I have 50,000 in performance now? Maybe not. It's going to increase significant cost. So then you will use comparable. So example, if I have 5 machines and production has a 50,000, then it's, if 5 machines can do this, then 50,000 will do this. Makes sense or not? So example, if one person can do 3 hours work, then 3 people will do 9 hours work. Yes or no? So you have to do, this is called calculation. What we call calculation. So you don't have to have, all company will not do exact production setup, but very close to production setup. And then they will multiply that. Are you understanding? Because the reason they multiply, because sometimes cost matters. Are we clear? if I have an environment and if somebody says how long will it take, now you can calculate for each environment and then you can give estimate. Do you guys agree or not? What else I should know about my project? It's okay to participate. It's okay to say.
Is expected outcomes.
Very good. Success criteria. What we call success criteria. So we need to know what is our success criteria. How we define our success. Success means if I complete my QA work in a 1 month, that is success. Or if I complete my QA work in a $1,000, what is the success criteria? Success criteria means how can we celebrate our thing, right? So example, less people, on time, quality, cost, everything matters. So if I give you, hey, verify this, and you're going to say it will take 10 years, but if my success criteria has to be in 10 days, then you do amazing job, but you're a failure because you took longer than I expect. Do you agree or not? So who define the success criteria?
Product owner.
We call, in this case, stakeholder.
Okay.
What we call stakeholder. So you need to say stakeholder. Now in stakeholder, you can have product owner, you can have everyone. When I say stakeholder, it means every business person who have some interest in project success and failure. So like when you come here, see, when I went to colleges, right? Initially I was like you. Like initially, maybe 1 month, maybe didn't do homework. But I had one professor, and that the professor used to say simple thing: "Why are you here?" And I said, "I want to be an engineer." He asked everyone, "Why are you here?" So I said, "I want to be an engineer." Then professor, his name was Savlia, he said, "I'm also an engineer. And why am I here?" And that changed my life. He said, "I also become an engineer, but I'm not working as an engineer. I'm working as an instructor in a college." And that time I asked him what he's mean. Then we started asking questions. What do you mean by that? He said, engineer, we all become when you study. But I did not do homework. I did not do project. I did not do this. So my experience is not helping me to get a job. So I end up teaching. That day I realized that I don't want to be just like a doctor, but then in college just teach doctor, medical, right? Your doctor is supposed to help patient. Do you guys agree or not? Same thing, engineer is supposed to do the real job. And that day I realized that my intention about all those things is understanding my stakeholder. So my stakeholder was my parents. My stakeholder means my future because I did not have married that time. So my family, future family, right? Would they be proud of me, right? And then I realized, no, I am going to be very practical. So when I was studying at the same time, I was also teaching and I also was working. I was doing 3 jobs. So three things. Teaching means whatever I learn, I kind of practice. And then I was working as a programmer. So I become a programmer and I was also studying. So I have a 3 lens. Make sense or no? You should do the same. But you can see I learn a lot because I did 3 times work, 17, 18 hours investment because my stakeholder was very important. Because if you don't make your stakeholder happy, will project be successful? So if you go home after 5 months, maybe, you say, hey, you took a training and you didn't get a job, would they be happy? Answer is no, right? So anytime when you do QA work, the first thing you need to know is your stakeholder. Yes, sir. If your stakeholder wants weekly update, would you provide or not? Yes or no? How would you know that they need what they need, when they need, and how they need? How would you know?
You can ask.
You should ask. So there is one thing you need is a communication. Do you guys agree on that? Communications among your stakeholders. And communication normally in a real life happens like daily and weekly. You are not going to say, hey, there are 5 stakeholders and say, I'm going to talk to you after 1 month. No, daily and weekly. Because someone wants to know daily. Maybe your project manager. Daily they want to know. Maybe some customer want to know weekly. Some customer want to know monthly. Some customer want to know quarterly. Do you agree or not? So you need to make sure what they need. What means information. When they need means time. And how they need is a format. So what means content? What content they need? So example, if you're CEO, would you send them 100 pages or would you page 1 page summary?
One page.
Why? That's correct. Why?
They don't need to know everything.
Exactly. So right person, right content, and right delivery. Do you agree or not? Right person. C executive, if you give 100 pages, and your team member, you give 100 pages, C executive will not have time to read. So they are looking for essence, summary, right? So you need to format the content accordingly. If you send everyday email to C executive, would they be happy? No, it's okay to say yes or no, right? At least we have energy in that, right? Do you guys agree or not? If people on phone, maybe you can see thumbs up. So at least you can be active as well. But if you send everyday email to your C executive, then people will not be happy. But if you don't email at all to C executive, they will be clueless, right? So maybe you have once a month, some summary you can share, right? So communication is important. Now, do you think every project goes smoothly or there will be a risk? Always risk. So you need to identify risk, yes or no. So we call risk, assumptions, issues, and dependency. Speak with me. Risk, assumptions, issue, and dependence. Every project will have. Every project. If you just attend today's like 1 hour, you will be able to mostly clarify some of the interview questions. Because every project, from today to all the way in the life, every project will have risk, assumptions, issues, and dependence. Risk means anything will slow you down. Anything will slow you down. So when you don't do homework, that's a risk. Do you guys agree or not? Because it will slow you down. Assumptions means when I come in a class, I assume you will have a full energy. But many of you, it means you don't have energy. Right? I am going to do that? Not at all. Because you say I drink nice tea. Because that is the energy I needed. If I can drink tea, you can drink tea as well. Because I want to be energetic. Because if I'm not energetic, I will introduce risk. Means I will not provide enough accurate information in an energetic form. Do you guys agree or not? So even just 1 cup of coffee minimize my risk. Do you agree or not? That's called risk management. Speak with me. You have to have risk management. Something may not go well. Do you agree or not? Like example, you have 5 members and 1 member is not coming. Maybe vacation, maybe sick days, maybe travel. So the rest of the people have to plan it well. Do you agree or not? You cannot complain. Oh, he's not there, so we cannot do the work. Right? That's called complaint. Management means with limited resource, how can you deliver it? With limited resource, how can you deliver it? Do you guys agree or not? See, no one is perfect in this world, but people try to become perfect. Makes sense? Risk will be there. Risk will slow you down or stop you. Slow you down or stop you. Example, if you don't have technology knowledge, like your project is in cloud and you don't have any cloud idea, would you be able to complete the cloud project? Maybe not. In that case, you should go for training. Do you agree or not? So that is called risk management. Let's say someone is doing Java related work, and then you have to do unit testing, and you have some Java knowledge, but you are not experienced. Then you do shadow programming or pair programming, or you can go for training. So identify key risks, and key risk may be 4 types of risks, right? Technology risk, resource risk, time risk, time. You have limited time to do the work, right? And third will be cost, budget risk, right? So technology risk, cost risk, resource risk, and time risk. Time means hey, I don't have enough time. In that case, you have to double the duty. Trust me, I do not have time. So what I do, anytime when I find a time, I just use it. I came here, I stop one activity and I start another activity. That's the only way you can get the time. Do you guys agree or not? Because I cannot add extra 1 hour. So you need to think about which is the priority, which one I can remove. Because if I have 10 items, and if I need to do that in a less time, you have to remove some item. So that's called prioritization. Yes or no? You got to do prioritization. If you don't do it, then you will not be able to accomplish. And what is assumptions here? Give me an example about assumptions. For your project, any project, because you are going to work for project, yes or no? For part of the project, what assumptions you will have?
When you finish the project.
Go ahead. Our assumption is our people will work hard or will be available throughout the projects, right? So if you start with, like example, tonight we will develop a team. So our assumption is all four or five members will be working almost adequately. Means everyone will put that genuine effort. Yes or no? We start with that assumption, but then people don't participate, then there is a risk. So if assumption is wrong, it will have a risk. We assume that people will have necessary skills. Do you agree on that? But what if they don't have necessary skills? Risk increase. So assumption means true, but when it is not true, risk increase. Do you guys agree or not? Make sense or not? Issue means non-fact. Issues means non-fact. So we had a last week issue, internet issue. Do you guys agree or not? Risk and issue, what's the difference? Issue can be technical as well.
Issue is like unexpected.
So what's the risk? Then what's the difference? People on phone, are you guys there? What's the difference between risk versus issues?
Risk is like a warning.
An issue is?
An issue is like it's there. It's like that's the problem, you know.
Issue is something that we need to fix. If the issue is not fixed, we might develop a risk.
Very good. Very good. So first of all, you both are very close. Issue is already happened.
I was gonna say.
Issues already happened. So if my car has a flat tire, it's an issue or risk?
Issue.
And my car, when I'm driving to Florida, may have a flat tire. Risk or issue? Make sense or not? So risk is the future. Now we have to take care both, yes or no. So last week, to be honest with you, that was not a good day because we had an issue. Normally it doesn't happen, but it happened. So I invested $800. Why I invested? Because I have an issue. Now I cannot repeat that issue. So at least cursory, 10 people can join and I can at least continue the class. We could not do last week class. People online might have felt bad, but there was no way I can do because there is a 30 plus students here having a problem. And I was, at least this internet, if no one can connect to the internet, it's still fine. But I should be able to connect to the internet. Do you guys agree or not? So my people are online, like around 20 plus people who are attending class online, they should not feel awkward because we can skip the lab, but we can continue the class. Make sense or not? So in that case, we can minimize a little bit. Do you guys agree or not? So that's called risk mitigation strategy. Speak with me. Risk mitigation strategy. We need to minimize the risk. Sometimes we may not be able to eliminate the risk. We may not be able to eliminate the risk, but we can minimize it. This device can maybe help 10 plus students, but may not be able to have 20 plus students. That's fine. At least 10 plus students can continue. Do you agree or not? Versus 0. What is the dependency there? What is dependency means?
If one part is working, then only the second part will work. So that's called dependency.
Give me practical example. Practical. You gave answer which is correct, which is bookish answer. But give me practical.
Okay.
First of all, you have to start the car, then you drive the car.
No, that is good, but that's also bookish answer. Give me practical answer.
Exemplary, if you don't have internet, you won't be able to log
Very
access
nice.
the browser.
So if you are working on a cloud, your application is cloud and like cloud provider is down. So you have cloud dependency, yes or no? Your internet dependency, yes or no? If you are buying a product, let's say you're buying payment from PayPal. Do you have dependency with PayPal? Yes or no? If PayPal have a problem, you will have a problem, yes or no? So dependency means you are not responsible, but you are depend on. So example, you are dependent on your car. If your car doesn't work, you cannot come here. Do you agree or not? I'm dependent on internet. I'm dependent on power, right? We are dependent on many, many things. So if I don't take care of those dependency, I will have risk, yes or no? So what is RAID means? RAID means risk, assumptions, issues, and dependency. Do you think you need to know? And if you don't know that, you can't do projects. You can't do projects, trust me. So every project will have this thing. Some project may have high risk. Some project may have high issues. Some project may have high dependency, and some project may have high assumptions. Make sense? Now, every project we need some timeline, some kind of timeline, right? Timeline, what we will do, when we will do, who will do. Yes or no? Some timeline. Do you agree or not? Because if somebody say, when are you going to be done? You can say, hey, I'll be done in 3 weeks. So that's called delivery date. 3 weeks is delivery date. Now I will ask, how are you going to do in 3 weeks? Then you need to give me a breakdown approach. This week I'm going to do this. Next week we're going to do this. Next week we're going to do this. So you need a time related planning. Do you agree or not? All those things, if you put together, then it is your plan. We call plan, QA plan. What do you call? QA. Make sense or no? So if you notice that today's agenda, taste plan. Taste plan should include all of this. And I can tell you, guarantee, you will be using plan almost every project. Interview question: who prepared the QA test plan? Who prepares the QA test plan? Normally prepared by QA lead. Normally prepared by QA lead. However, you will also be participant. So QA engineer also participate. And if you are knowing, you can also do the first version. Make sense? More you do is better. Do you guys agree or not? Now, if I go back to my forum, let's go back to the forum for a second. So far, any question, by the way? Am I making things clear, easy? So far, so good? Any questions which is, oh my God, I'm not clear. I don't know what he's saying, right? So far, so good? Okay. Now, if I go back to here, when you do the project, you are most welcome to use all those things. So part of the project, you will do planning. Planning means who does what. We're going to learn today. Make sense or not? Planning is the most important aspects. Planning is the most important aspect of the project. You will learn presentation because you do need to have presentation skill. Many of us, English is our second or third language. I completely understand, but you have to work in English community only. So you have to know how to present, how to communicate. Yes or no? So this will give you opportunity to learn a little bit, right? You will have, overall you will have 5 projects. So more you present, more you ask questions, more you answers, then your communication skill increase. Make sense or not? See, if you do homework and you don't present, don't participate, don't actively ask questions or answer, you will not have a good skill. So in industry, you may have a job, but may not have a high pay job. You may not have a good title because people say, oh, he or he doesn't participate. He's not active. He's not energetic. Makes sense or not? So you need to have that thing. As you go further, as you are doing QA work, you need to know how to do defect management, which we'll cover next class. Prioritization work, because if you have activity to do, 20 activity to do, you have to prioritize what you're going to do this week, what you're going to do next week, and what you're going to do next week. Yes or no? And that prioritization has to be done. You also need to do who does what. Make sense or not? Because you have a team, maybe 3 people, maybe 5 people. So you need to know who does what. And that is the reason as a QA activity is super easy. Many students are very successful as a QA manual and then suddenly become a QA lead without even having automation. The reason, communication skill. The reason, management skill. The reason, leadership. I can give you guarantee you will be very successful if you know what I'm teaching right now. You don't need to know everything, trust me. Rule number 1, if you are at a grassroots level means basic. You are fighting with thousands of people. But as you go further up, less fight will happen because less people are there. Many people are fighting on a grassroots level and they say, I don't have a job because you're fighting on a wrong place. You have to fight at certain where the competition is less and you can win more. Make sense or not? So build your communication skill. I'm not saying that you should have English major. Be free to ask questions, participate, present, planning, communication among your team, leadership, inspiring, engaging. Do all those things will be visible in interview as well as day-to-day work. Make sense or not? I want you to learn that. And you are most welcome to use any tool of your choice. Right? Last week we used draw.io. We also used mind map, right? Excel we are going to use today, and there are more tools you will be using. More you do is better. So far, so good. Any questions so far? Now, moving along, the way we'll design the team is minimum 3 and maximum 7. So I will create a team around 1 o'clock, right? And don't drop, because if you drop, you will not have a project team. And then you say, I don't have a project team. How can I help you? If you drop, and I will not be able to get you the project team. So we'll create a project team. And part of the project team, you are going to create a group. So some of you will become a group leader, a person who have like to communicate and organize and all. Say, I want to be group leader. Let me create a WhatsApp group. So you can create a WhatsApp group and invite your team members and start working on that. Every team should have one leader. Make sense? This kind of experience will give you opportunity to work with your team. And ideally, whatever you learn in this class, you should apply. And I'm going to show you so much help. So this way you can do better job. Remember, you don't have to wait for entire training to get a job. You can get a job by learning a couple of skills only. More you know, more you will get. But you don't have to wait for entire training to complete. Make sense so far? Now, project is due on Feb 25. Now, what you will be doing, you will be selecting a subject, a website. You can pick any website of the choice, or if you can select your own website. If you like Amazon, if you like example, IMDb, you can pick any websites in the world. So either you select this website, these are my own websites, or you can select other website. Your goal is, your and your team goal is to do the work which I'm explaining. So here, project information. You define your stakeholder. Now, when you define stakeholder, how you define stakeholder? How you define stakeholders?
The people who have interest in it.
Yeah, who has interest. So if you have a real website, you will have a real stakeholder, yes or no? If you don't have a real website, then you will not have opportunity to find the real stakeholder. So if this website is ours, then Harish is your stakeholder, Rina is your stakeholder, I am is your stakeholder, my team member is your stakeholder, yes or no? And you're most welcome to sit down, come and meet and interview us. You're most welcome to email us, right? Whichever one, if you like to come in person, if you like to have a Zoom meeting, just find the time and have an interview. Without interview, without observation, without talking, you cannot be successful. Do you guys agree or not? So it's a good idea to find your stakeholders and interview. So you are now learning in a real life. If you go, you will also be comfortable because you have done this thing, muscle building exercise. Do you guys agree or not? So you have to do. Now you say, but when are you available? You shouldn't be asking right now. You should email me, hey, what is your availability time? My group is available Monday, Tuesday, this time frame. Would you be, or provide any other time slot? Now I provide another time slot. You can create a Zoom meeting or maybe in-person meeting and then invite, and we can jump on a call and we can help you. Make sense or no? We are here to help, but you need to start that. You guys agree? Clear about stakeholder is someone who has interest for project success or failure. You need to find them, because if you don't find, then they will not help you, because what they want, why they want, it is very important for your project. Do you agree or not? So first identify your stakeholder. You can set up a meeting and you can start from there. Make sense or no? Define team structure, because we are going to create a 5 or 7 member. Are they going to do the same task or different task? So that is what you need to do. You need to have a group meeting where everyone say, I like this, I like this, I like this, and maybe one person can do the task or 2% can do the task, and other people will do other tasks. So you need to define who does what type of thing. We're going to do that exercise in a few minutes also. Make sense or no? Are we understanding? So make sure your team member knows what they do. But let's say you have 5-member team, and now one person does, let's say, A task and another person does B, but he doesn't communicate. He doesn't provide update. Would you be happy? So then you have to have constructive comment. Hey, if you are not going to do it, let me know. We're going to pass that task to someone else. I give you guarantee there will be always a team member who will not do the work. Right? Why? Because you know what I'm talking about. They don't think it's a priority for them because they're very busy. But they don't know busy and business are different. Busy means no growth, and business means growth. Do you agree or not? People are busy, but business is different. So project has to be your priority. You can identify upfront, hey guys, what time you guys are available. Make sure we want to do good job. But if you are not able to do communicate, so someone else can pick up the ball. It's a good idea to communicate upfront. Do you agree? So it's very important. Define architecture diagram. So architecture diagram is remember we talked about 3-tier architecture, right? Web server, app server, and all. Think about it. Do a little bit Googling. All answers, I don't have it. You need to find the answers. That's the reason it's a project. Are we understanding? So far, so good? Any questions so far? Now, part of this project, you are going to create a test plan. Now, test plan, you're going to put in a PowerPoint. You are not going to put in a Word document, but you're going to do PowerPoint. Please understand. So when you do PowerPoint, please make your font readable. And you don't have to put like lots of line. You don't have to put lots of line. You need to put in easier form, summary type of thing. Tonight, you are going to get a homework, which is called test plan, which you're going to write in a Word document. So you will write in a Word document test plan. You're going to write Word document in a test plan. But when you present, you're present in a nice form. Remember, presentation means the font should be big, color, style. It should be more readable. You should not copy paste like Word document in PowerPoint. It won't look good. Makes sense or no? I always tell people, think about the advertisement. In America, advertisement is less than 10-second, 15-second advertisement. But those 15 seconds, how beautiful it is. And immediately you think, go and buy this product. Do you agree or not? Such a nicely they represent. So presentation is your advertisement of your work. Try to keep it lighter. You matter. See, I'm not using any slide, but I matters. Yes or no? If I read like line by line, I can give you guarantee anywhere in the world you go. People will not teach the way I teach. The reason I have 32 years of experience and I'm not coming here to just teach. I'm coming here to make impact. Very different. Make sense? The reason I teach this way because I want to make sure at least some of you get a job. I want everyone should get a job, but at least some of you get a job. So my impact is visible. Same thing, your PowerPoint should have impact. What you want to present does matter. So don't just put too much information. Try to keep it high level. Make sure it's more presentable. Right? So there are some examples here. Now, test plan, how to prepare a test plan. This is the video. I want you to watch a couple of times because in your interview, you will expect so many questions from test plan. The way I explain here, majority things are covered in the way we just explained, but in a much more graphical form here also. So far so good. This video, 10 minutes video, and you will be well prepared for what is the test plan required, step by step. Make sense? Any questions so far? Now, part of tonight homework, I have added some templates here. There are 3 templates I have added. We're going to do exercise. The first template is use case. So this link which you see here, I think this one of the link, maybe later. These links giving you one link is a completed example. So there is a one link as a complete example. So it's example and one is a blank. So we're going to cover that in a few minutes. So one is a blank. Blank means you can use for your homework. Test plan, listen carefully. Test plan, not everyone needs to do. Test plan is a group activity. So tonight, only one group activity will do. So you're not going to send me, listen carefully, you're not going to give me test plan for 5 people. If you have team, one person with the name of that. So all your team member names should be in the test plan. So it's a group activity. So you are now starting building a team. So when you build a team will go through normal curve, like this kind of curve. First time when you do, this is the test plan activity you're going to do today. Right? It will help you how your team member react and all. And then you will be working on a project activity. Make sense or no? So test plan is the first activity you will do as a group. I do not need individual homework. So those who are thinking, oh, I need to do it individually, no. You have to do as a group. But if you are not participating in a group, don't submit it. Because I really want you to work as a group. Because there is no way you can be successful if you work individually. You've got to work as a team member. Are we clear? This example we're going to cover in a few minutes, but one is the prepaid and one is the empty. Now, define scope. What does scope means? What does scope means? How you define the test scope? So if you are Amazon, would you test everything? Or if you are testing only shopping cart, then shopping cart is your scope. Do you agree or not? If you're doing product search, then product search is your scope. Yes or no? So what is your scope? Are you testing everything or are you testing this thing only? See, when you are taking QA class, am I going to teach entire world or I'm going to teach only QA manual? QA manual. Do you guys agree or not? And you cannot expect I will teach everything in this class because we have agreement you are taking QA manual class. So that my scope is QA manual. If you ask lots of questions about Agile, I'll say that is other class. Do you agree? If you ask database, then there is another class. So scope matters because it will help me to estimate time. It will help me to estimate budget. It will help me to estimate resource. Do you agree or not? If I remove the scope, I will not know anything. I will not know time. I will not know the cost. I will not know the resource. So do you agree? You and your team member needs to define the scope because you don't have to do everything part of the project. Pick couple of good items from the websites and say, let's do this is our project scope. Means we'll do thorough testing of that module or component. Module can be product search, module can be shopping cart, module may be payment, module can be event, module can be business directory, module can be any module. And then zoom into that part. You don't have to test entire websites. Make sense or not? In a real life, you will be given a module. You will be given a module because you will have a website where are many components are there. You cannot test humanly everything. So they divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. So far, so good. Am I clear here? Next one, define role and responsibility. You have to have your team respond, like example, your task, A task, B task, C task, D task, let's say many tasks. You can say this one will be done by one person, maybe team member 1 or team member 1 and 2 will work together. And this task will be done by team member 3 and 4 work together. This task may be done by team member 5. Make sure you define role and responsibility. Example, architecture diagram may be done by one person, scope will be done by one person, team roles and responsibility done by another person. But make sure you know who does what and when. Example, I'm teaching and Harish is doing more operation aspect, right? If I do operation, then who will do teaching? Make sense or no? So divide and do. If your role is not clear, the confusion will start. Do you agree or not? So take time and have role and responsibility defined. It doesn't need to be, it just need to be one slide. Who is going to do what? And don't try to put in a smaller font. I like impressive slide. Impressive slide. I'll show you some example also. Define schedule, which is nothing but timeline, which we're going to cover today. That's nice timeline. Week by week, what you have 3 weeks, so you can define what you're going to do. So you can use those who are agile student. You can use a sprint as a 1 week. Sprint as a 1 week, and you can have a daily meeting. You can have a daily meeting where you all participate in the morning or evening, whatever daily meeting, 5 to 10 minutes, 15 minutes meeting. Everyone should say, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? Is there any roadblock? Treat like as a normal project. Think about that you are working in a real field and you are doing real job. Make sense or no? Don't just do normal. March is about to come. Guys, trust me, I'm not kidding here. The people who are doing good job, March is about to come and you will see the good news coming very fast. So this is your, what you call stepping stone. If you do it well, you have the same thing you're going to repeat in your interview. Make sense or not? So it's very important that you prepare it step by step, weekly. Use Agile, those who are Agile thing. And make sure you if you want to use Jira task-wise, create a story and then divide the task and assign the team member. Or you can use Excel, whichever works for you. But you have to have some kind of management thing, some kind of communication thing, sometime reporting thing you need to define, right? I'll show you how to create the plan also. Testing approach. Now, testing approach means there are 3-4 things you can cover. Testing approach means first, are you going to do first manually? Because if manually works, then you do automation, right? Or you can say what week 1, what we're going to do in week 1, what we're going to do week 2, right? What we're going to do week 3. Are we going to do alpha test? Are we going to do beta test? Are we going to do functional test? Are we going to do non-functional test? What kind of testing are we going to do? Are we going to do browser-based test? Are we going to do mobile-based test? How, when, what you're going to do? That's your approach. because testing approach will complete lot more things. So feel free and discuss about how you're gonna do. Normally people do phase approach. Phase approach means you don't want to do all at once. So maybe you can say these two team members will do browser-based test. Maybe Microsoft is Google Chrome. These two members will do mobile-based testing. These two members do non-functional testing. These people will do performance testing. Make sense or no? Now something you may not be able to do, example automation testing, because you have not studied yet. Yes or no? So if you have not studied automation testing, don't worry about it. You cannot do regression testing because you do not know about it right now. You may not be able to do performance. If you want to do performance testing, only 6 people can start at the same time and see what happens, right? If one person start, it's called unit, and 6 people start, and now you're doing 6% load. If you're 60 people, then 60% load. You may not be able to do all, but try to use approach, right? Here we are documenting. Test plan is plan before you do the work. Are you understanding? Plan before you do the work. Plan is always before you do the work. Without plan, you will not know how to run the show. Do you guys agree or not? See, when I come here, trust me, before I start the class, at around 4 a.m., I start thinking about the class. My habit is very awkward. 4 a.m., I'm thinking about how am I going to run the class, because my each and every class should be masterpiece. When you compare last class versus this, you will feel, wow, this was very good class. That is where I work for. I don't work, okay, let's repeat. Even students have taken this class, they will say, oh, man, he didn't teach this way. The reason I continuously revise that, because I plan well. And that's why the result is very successful. You got to plan well. Sounds good? Any question here? Yes.
The alpha and beta testing in QA manual, do they vary?
Yeah.
Like alpha and beta?
When you say vary means?
Like, is it common that something passes in the alpha and then not passes?
Oh yeah, it's very common. First of all, let's understand what is alpha test and what is beta test. So alpha test, customer comes here, right? Customer comes to your location, and customer will sit next to you and test at your location. So everything, your machine, hardware, software is your site, and customer is coming. So it is possible everything will work here. But now beta test means your software goes to the customer side. So software goes to customer side, and when they try to do that, it is possible hardware might be different. Maybe some environment will be different. Maybe some configuration may be different, and it is possible it may not work. Right? It is possible. So it's important that we test both. Right? It is proven that if you do thorough job, you minimize the challenge, but it is still possible that you may have problem. So for your manual task, like example, if you're doing in a local machine, right, and you have access to that, and you ask customer to see everything pass, but then when you deploy that customer side, it is possible it may not work, and it is normal.
So for this project, are we assuming that the alpha test was done and passed and then?
Very good question. So I like the word you assuming. I want you to document it. So you can say you are right now you're doing most likely alpha test, right? And then beta test, you can say that will be done later, because something you may not be able to do. So example, performance test, or maybe automation testing, right? Maybe regression testing. You write that line that these are out of scope. Make sense or no? Because you cannot do it. Then you can say out of scope. I want that type of mindset. Everyone should understand that there is nothing, everything. It's always something. Something is what I can do now, that's called scope. And what I can delay, that's out of scope. Make sense or no? And I'm explaining in a very basic language. There is no way you can do everything. Make sense or no? So you define the scope, and that's what part of that. Now define tools that you use. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Draw.io, and other tools. More you use is better. We have mixed match community. Mixed match community means some students know Agile Scrum, some students know database, some students know other tools, some students know Java. So you can combine it. So remember, when you discuss with your team member, don't fight, compliment. Someone knows, someone doesn't know. Everyone matters, but actively participate. I always tell people the best way to learn is questioning, discussing, participating, and that's the way to. Some of you are in person, some of you are remote, so you have to use some kind of Zoom meeting with camera on, so it will be very, very helpful. I can tell you, in industry wise, even colleges, they don't provide recording. They are afraid that recording is kind of intellectual property, right? We do give you. Why? Because you do have fun. You can watch. You can do that. The reason we are doing that enables you participation. Same thing when you are attending the meeting with your team. One team member is not available. Record the session and share the link with that person, so that person can watch it and next time he will be participating. But if you don't record the session, then that person will fall out because now he's having a gap. Make sense or not? So don't create a knowledge gap. Make sure actively participate with your group. Doable? Now test data. So test data means, example, if you are searching like basketball. So basketball is your test data. Yes or no? Let's example, I'm logging to Bank of America. If I'm logging to Bank of America, what would be my test data? Username and password. Do you guys agree on that? Let's say if I'm creating a profile. If I'm creating a profile, then first name, last name, email, right? If I'm creating my account, then first name, last name, those are my test data. So define your test data, how your test data look like. Every company will expect you to create a test data. Sometimes we call it dummy data. What do we call? Dummy data or mock data. Make sense? Now you don't have to ask, you can create it. Sometimes login perspective, you need an account data. You may need to ask your stakeholder, hey, do you have any test account? Can I use that? Right? Because account can be checking account, saving account, brokerage account, business account, right? Different account. So different account number you need to get because you cannot create those accounts. Do you agree? Because dummy account won't work. So you need some sample account to test it out your system. Agree? Any questions so far? Good. We talk about risk and assumptions. I hope everyone is clear with that. And then now there are two things we need to do is use case and test case. Use case means a customer is using your system. Use case means customer is using your system. So he's using, and that's why it's use case. And the test case means QA. QA is becoming a user and verifying that thing. It's a test case. So use case and test case has some commonality. How user use the system, how user use the system will be documented by BA guy. How user use the system will be documented by BA guy. And how QA will verify the system will be documented by QA guy. Make sense or not? So QA guy will verify the system. That's called test cases. BA guy writes that how the system will work with the BA guy. So BA is responsible for use case and QA is responsible for test case. One use case can have many test cases. Make sense? One use case can have many test cases. What is test cases and all documented in this video. We're going to cover that in a few minutes, so you will have fun. Make sense or not? Tonight when you come out, three things I want you to be clear. Use case, test case, and test plan. That's all I want to cover tonight. Use case, test case, and test plan. This is the most important part for the QA manual job. If you know these three things very well, then you are successful. If you have weakness in any of these three, you will have a problem. Use case you are not writing, but use case you should read about it. Use case you should understand, because from there you're going to write test cases. Make sense or not? So sometimes you have to read the document in order to create a test cases. So that's why we are covering use case in this class. Test case you got to know. If you do not know test case, don't even think about applying for a job. And test case, when you write thoroughly, in detail. How to write detail? You should follow a template. So for that, I added templates here. We're going to cover in a few minutes. Make sense? So if you click on that, you will have lots of templates. So I added templates here. And this templates allows you to start with a good example. Again, some are filled and some are empty. So you can see here, test case template, right? And you can see template plan. Some students have done pizza plan. This is another plan. Use case template, test case example. You see? So this is the example. Means this is the example filled thing. So you can download it and you can read about it. Right? So we'll talk about that. Any questions so far? Now, deliverable. So PowerPoint and Jira. So you don't have to worry about Jira. If you do want to use Jira, that's fine, because many of you know Jira. You can, but at least you should have this thing. project overview, team overview, stakeholder, context diagram, architecture diagram, all those things you will document. And then you are going through planning details and all. When you do that, you will have around 15 to 20 minutes on February 25th, where you will be presenting this project. And there are some students example. So this is like some students have given me their slide. So let me just show you the slide. I'm supposed to press enter. Let me just press enter. Give me a second, because I did not press enter. So that's why I'll press enter. So it will be clickable. Bear with me. Just 1 second. That I forgot about pressing enter. Now it's better. So let me save this thing. So I'll show you some of the students' work. Don't copy it. This is just for reference purpose. Okay. Reference purpose means if I click on that, some student did an amazing job. So I kind of use those PowerPoint as a reference. Some reference, like this is the Costco. You can see that the people names and other informations are there. I personally think some students made an amazing difference. So Manisha, she was like a Naperville student. She was a housewife for 20 plus years. 20 plus years. And she have taken QA. Right now, she's working on Chicago downtown with more than 120,000 plus. 20 years housewife. When she started, she had a lot of confusion and questions and all. But 4 to 6 months of training, that's it, life change. And their information I'm showing you with the full example. So you can see here, they use like something may not make sense to you because they use complete project, but you can kind of get an idea how they started, right? So you can get an idea about missions and the customers. You get an idea. You see they're using font, right? Yeah, they're not using like font differently, right? So some example about what is scope, application architecture. You can go through the test plan. So it will give you idea. Again, this is just their example. They did a quite long time. You can do much better, right? So this give you an idea as a reference point. Make sense or not? Same thing if I go to second one. There's a second diagram, PowerPoint. Again, the student reference. So at least you know how they have done. So this is one of students. Out of this couple of students whom I know very well, they got a job. So this is the plan activity. We're gonna do in few minutes this activity, and you can see now nice test plan, right? So in test plan, almost all things we're gonna cover that step by step as well, and we have done talk about many of them. Make sense or not? Now, if you scroll down, they've defined approach. So you get an idea how they did. You can see their font, who does what type of thing. The Dhiral is the person who came out from the college. It was a fresher, complete fresher, and he was doing very good job. And right now he's working in Seattle. Recently he got a job also. So it's a very important. Salman, the person who was working remotely all the time, I think he was from New York, and I think he got a job also. So these students who are doing good job, you can see the quality work, because I have many students. I don't put everyone's PowerPoint here, but they did a really good job here. So you can see the architecture diagram, you can see all the details, the pictures, presentations and all, and who does what. It kind of helps you. Make sense? Again, there is an example. In your interview, you need to say something you did more often here. So show the confidence, but these are examples. Go for that. And then some presentations are here. So you can watch the presentations, so at least you get an idea how they have presented. And I put some ISTQB exam information and again, interview questions. So that covers about the project details. Any questions before I create the project group? Any questions with respect to project? People on phone? Are you guys with me?
No question.
No question, right? So
No.
let's create a group quickly, because before I forget about the group, then we'll do the exercise. So let me create a group. So project group, we'll start with the group one. Again, one person I'll pick like who can create a WhatsApp group, right? So the other people can write their information in a chat room, right? Those people who are in person will keep it in person. So that way you don't have to join with the online group. In person people can easily, use their phone number, email, and create a group in person. If you already have a group and you say, I want to keep this group, then that's completely fine. We can keep you with that same group if you like to be. And I like this people company, then you can be in the same group. That's not a problem. So the people who are on the phone will start with group. Yes.
Can you add me into the in-person group?
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try that. So no problem there. So we'll start with here. So we'll say group one. So group one will start. We'll start with Aman, right? Those people who are in person. So we can say Prince, right? Who are in person. So we'll start with here, Ramesh, right? And Ella, I'll put you in this group, right? We'll create a 5 to 7 members, so that will be easier. Raj, I'll put you in this group, right? And Ali, you will be part of this group. So now I think we have 3 plus Excel, and I have a hard time to write his name, but Andrea, right? We'll find out his name. So this is your group, the person sitting next to you, right? Group 2, right? So group 2, how do I write? HA double L E LUYA. And Heaven, you are in the same group. And I know some people are in your group who are clicked with you for database class, also Agile class. Who else? Yeah. Do you know her first? G, I think. J. Uh-huh. JOL ANTA, right? And I can add yours. Spelling MARI A. And what's your first name, sir?
Andre.
Can you spell please?
ANGREI
DREI, right? So far so good. Okay, so you are in group 1, group 2. So now Anila, I'll put you in this group. And whom I'm missing here? Anyone who I'm missing here? Priya, I can put it here. So Priya, you can be in this group. And we are still missing. We're missing. Who else we're missing here? So Aman is already in a group, right? So Aman is, I think, Tenzing. So Tenzing, I don't know how I'll put her name like this, but Tenzing, she was here, right? So that part clear. Now group 2, group 3. So if I'm Anita, I'll put you in there. Helen. Making sure everyone is in the group. In case if your name is not listed, please let me know. Lee, Maha, Sweta. Who else I'm missing? Nadia. So 336. So that Silpi. So we are missing Margaret. Margaret was here, right, last week? So we are missing her. So here Silpi goes here. And who else I'm missing? So Ola, I'll put you here in this group. So that's where you're covered. So we have group 3. Am I missing now anyone? Silpi is here, Nadia, Maswita, Lee, Kavita is there. Okay, good. Anila is good. I think we're missing a couple of students, but I will cover that. So we have like kind of decent group 3. So let me do one thing. What you can do is you can put your information in a chat room and all, but I'll put this thing in a Google Class. So that way you have access to this thing. But in case if someone is missing here, we'll add them in a group appropriately. So that way everyone have access to their group. So let me just add the group information. I think we're missing a couple of students, but those people will be able to join respective groups. So no problem. So let me just do so. So here, project. Am I missing anyone or I'm good, right? So simply I'll put Margaret in your group, I think, that way. And if anyone is coming, then I think we'll add here in this group also. So this is project, QA group. I know sometimes students, miss the class and they can join this group also. So pretty good. So that part is taken care for project. So tonight, this is test plan and so posted. Those who are online, you may want to create a group, and in a chat room, you can say, hey, this is my thing, and create a WhatsApp. If anyone knows WhatsApp, you can say, hey, group one WhatsApp, this is my group, and join. And those who are in person, make sure you take each other phone number, email, and create the group, so that way you don't have to worry about it. Sounds good? Okay. So now let's begin. So first thing, what I really want is you go to forum and go all the way down where we have templates. This way. If you are here, click on this. Click on this. If you are here, click on this. Good. So far so good. And now you click on the template and you will see a lot of details here. Right? Say yes. Okay. Now first thing we're going to use case. So you can see here I have use case here. Now click on that and download that file. So you can download in your local machine. So I'm going to click on that and I'll download that file. Let me know if you're able to download. Once you download, you can double click on it. This is a very important topic, so make sure you take time and try to understand more often, because in your interview, people will ask you more often this thing. So let me know if you're able to see something like this. Doable? Okay. Now, as always, when you start use case, you start with the unique number. So let's type here UC001. UC001. Right? Now, what we will do is we will take an easy route, because we will take easiest things in the world, which is the Bank of America. So please see here on screen so you will understand. User will type bankofamerica.com, right? Yes or no? And press enter. What system does? System show this page. Right? Let me repeat. If user doesn't type, do you think system will show this page? No. So user does some action and press enter. When user does some action, then system does some action. So user types and press enter. Then system shows this page. Do you agree? So use case is nothing but it's a series of steps between user and system. Series of steps between user and system. User and system. It's okay to say user and system. Thank you. So first user type it, system shows this home page. Now user is going to enter username and password and click on the login button. When you do that, system is going to check yes or no. System is going to check his username and password is correct. If it is correct, then system will take user to the next page. If it is not correct, system will show error message here. Do you agree or not? Right? So that is what we want to document it. So if somebody read, they will understand it. So let's go to the Word document and we'll say here, use case name, login, created by, you can give any name, so I'll say Tom, and last updated by, I don't need to write, but date created, which is today's date. So you can say 02/04/2023, MMDDYY, last updated date, I don't have to write it. Now actor. Actor means who is using this system. So in our case, we are talking about bank. Who is using the bank? Customer or account holder? Right? Customer is very generic, right? Should I say student or patient or doctor? Doesn't make sense, right? So we can say account holder. Do you agree or not? Because if it is a hospital, the customer will be patient, right or not? And if it is a retail store, then customer will be a buyer. Do you agree or not? Give a little bit more clarity. So here we'll say account holder. Description. So in descriptions means person who has account with Bank of America. Make sense or not? We're clarifying a little bit. Good? Awesome. Now precondition. So precondition means before I start. Please understand. Precondition means before I start what I need. That's called precondition. And after I complete where I should be. Where I should be. That's called post conditions. Make sense or not? Precondition and post condition. Before I start. So let me explain. Before I come to the class, my precondition is I have internet access. I have Google Class setup. I have WebEx links. I have those preconditions. If I don't have internet access, if I don't have WebEx, if I don't have Google Class, then I may not be able to teach. Do you agree or not? So precondition means what I need to have in order to do so, right? So if you want to do login, what are the things you need to have? Username and password. You should have also Bank of America homepage URL. Yes or no? So let's go back to the thing and let's write in a step by step. So we'll say user has, let's do user has account login credentials and parenthesis username and password. So this will become your test data. Right away, you know this is your test data. Make sense? So you need a username and password in order to log in. Now, it is possible you may have multiple preconditions. So you can press the enter and you can do bullet points. You can click here and then you can do bullet points. So it will give you options to do multiple things here. So I'm going to click here and do bullet points. So click on that and bullet point. So user has account login credentials. Make sense or not? Now you press enter. What else you need? What else you need? What other precondition we have?
You need to have bank URL.
Yeah, so user has bank URL, right? User has internet access, because without internet access, he cannot do that. Okay. Do you guys agree? So this is very, very simple. Now, post condition. So post conditions are two conditions. One, if you are successful, and when you are not successful. So successful means what will happen when I log in? Where would I go? Help me. Where would I go? Account detail page. Yes or no? If I'm successful. And if I'm not successful, where would I go? Error page. So let's click on the bullet points and here say upon successful login, user sees account data. And upon error, user sees an error message on login page. Now it is very, very common. It is very common to write use case in a present tense. We don't write will. We sees, right? Sees, in displays. We write in a present tense. We don't write in a future tense. So that's one of the things. And try to write non-technical term. But this is very important for QA. Because if you have these, then it will help me to do testing. Because now I know if I enter correct username and password, I'm supposed to go to account detail page. If I go there, then my QA pass. If I don't, then QA fail. Makes sense or not? So if you do not have these information, technically speaking, you should have questions. What is successful and what is not successful? What is right and what is wrong? You should have a question, yes or no? Most of the answers you will get from use case. Now priority. What would be the priority for login? High or low or medium?
Hi.
Because if it doesn't work, Bank of America will be in trouble, right? Frequency of uses. 1 time, 1,000 time, or million time? No. How many people will use logging in a day? A lot. What is lot means? 10,000, 1 million, 1 million. So if I say 1 million, it will help me in my performance testing. Yes or no? Because this data will help me. Oh, I have to test this login with 1 million user. Remember last week we talked about non-functional testing. If I have this information, it will trigger me that I have to test with 1 million, right? If it says 10,000, then I need to test with 10,000. Do you guys agree on that? So use case also give me some clue what to do in performance testing. How easy it is. Do you agree or not? But if someone has not done the good job, you should question them. Hey, how frequently people will use? Do you guys agree or not? It's a bi-directional. BA does the good job or QA does the good job. Because you know that you need to know frequency. Do you guys agree? Now, normal cost of equipment, which is primary scenario. Primary scenario is also known as a happy path. Speak with me. Again, happy path. So happy path means most likely user is going to follow. Here, rather than bullet point, we're going to click here, and then we're going to click a number, which is called sequence in a logical order. So we can't do bullet point, we do number. So let's click on the number, and then you can say user enters bank URL in the browser. System source bank homepage. User enters login details, username, password. User clicks on login button. System validates login detail, login credentials. System source account detail page. So basically, you write series of steps. This series of steps is called scenario. Series of steps are called scenario, and these scenarios are written as a use case form. So this is use case form. So you're writing nicely step by step. Again, it has to be logical order. You should not do random, but you might notice that something user does and something system does. Something user does, something system does. You might notice. So this is called series of steps where user and system interact. That is known as a use case. And this is the happy path because the primary scenario is also known as a happy path. Most of the time, user performs this. Questions? Yes.
Step 5, where system validates login credentials.
Because without checking, you will not show them the next page, right?
But if the next page is shown, then if the next, if it's a happy path, the next page is shown, if it's successful, then it has validated.
Yeah, but if I write it, then the developer will also think about validation. So now developer will write a Java object, and then they will write a validate. And developer will have a question, what to validate? So then there will be a conversation will start. Validation will have business rules, right? If I remove that, then it's a kind of black box. How we are going to the next page? Validation means user is not logged, user is not inactivate, user is first time trying, like second time trying. So there are a lot of validation will happen, right? Because you can try, if my account is locked, if my account is logged, and if I try to log in, do you think I can go successful? No. So validation say, you know what, your account is locked, you have to unlock your account, right? Or if you already tried 2 times incorrect, then I would send a message, hey, if you try 3 times incorrect, your account will be locked. So the validate will do a lot of logic, business logic. Remember, we have 3-tier architecture, the application layer where logic will happen. So validation will give us a clue, some validation will happen before we go to the next page. We also need to check this user exists in the database. If not, we can say, hey, your information is not exist. We are not able to find. So validate will do some programmatic logic. That's why we write validate. Can I skip? You can, but then it will create a gray area. People will have confusion, right?
Which benefit of the developer?
Exactly. See, this use case diagram will be read by developers, product owner, business, QA, architect. So if I'm a BA, I must do good job. If I'm a QA, I must verify this document. If document is not very clear, I should ask question. If I'm a developer, I still read this document. That's why this is a very important thing you need to understand. That's why we are doing it. It will take 10 minutes to understand this thing. So far, so good. Now, alternate scenario. Alternate scenario means if you do something, but something is not correct, or you move somewhere else. So, example, user doesn't need to do login all the time. Yes or no? User might do forgot username, or user might do, like example, if I come here and I don't do login, but I click somewhere else. Yes or no? User can do that. Is that an error? No. I normally go to Walmart. Why would I go to Walmart? To buy something. But once in a while, I go to Walmart to buy Subway. But am I buying from Walmart Subway? No, there is a store in Walmart. I go to check my eyes. There is a store in there. But I go to Walmart, but I don't buy anything. I go to Walmart, I return the item. Is that an error? No. I use this system, maybe something else. So that is called alternate scenario. Speak with me. Alternate scenario means I access the system, but I don't do the intended purpose. I do something else. That's called alternate scenarios. Make sense? So in our case, many things user can say, hey, I forgot my username, or I want to enroll, or I want to open an account, right? So there are many use case user can invoke. Yes or no? So user can say, I want to do home loan. I want to read about this. So there are tons of things user can do. So here we make it generic. So in a secondary scenario, we can say forgot username. Let's write down forgot username. So here, user is still doing these two steps. Yes or no? User is still doing. So we can say here, repeat step 1 and 2. Make sense or no? Repeat step 1 and 2 because user will still enter bank URL. System will still show the home page. Now user clicks on forgot username, and that itself is a one use case. Use case means forgot username means user needs to do something else. In that case, system executes forgot username use case. Make sense or no?
Secondary
Mhm.
scenario,
Mhm.
does it have to be related to the, we gave the use case name at the top?
No, it doesn't need to relate it, but it is associated. Associated means some steps are common. So it's kind of like this, right? So I'm actually starting my car, but I normally open the door and I normally insert my key in ignition and I start the car normally. But once in a while, I open the door to take the stuff from the car. So still, I'm opening the door. After opening door, what am I doing? I can do anything. Whichever I'm doing it means user does action. Those are called use case. So it is not part of the login, but it's association. Association means very close to login.
I meant,
Hmm.
what are
Hmm.
since this is a use case for login, you wouldn't go, like, you wouldn't click on savings or credit cards. You would do something, forgot the credit card.
You can, but then you can write here general other use cases. You can just say other use cases. But because you're login, so it's a very common that login have forgot username, forgot password, create account, right? So you don't have to repeat thousands of times. You just kind of primary or secondary scenario list out. Make sense or no? You don't have to repeat all because that's called paper exercise, because there can be thousands of access, right? User can do. You don't have to repeat, but this is programmer will understand that there will be if and else. So they can, when they see that association, programmer will start writing reusable code. So they get an idea. You don't have to write, but I always write because this gives me my programmer a lot more clue. Right? So example, if you are testing login, so you can say, hey, this is all person one can test, because those who are doing login, they can also do forgot username and forgot password. You're showing that association. We call cluster. you're showing that cluster. So that way you can create a group. You do this and you do this. Otherwise, if you do login and I do forgot username, it doesn't make sense because they're so connected. It makes more sense one person does that. So they build the knowledge base.
Now, and is that also predetermined or pre-planned as far as which ones will cluster together? Or?
You as a normally BA when they write primary and secondary scenario, it indicates that these are together, right? It's indicated. Like example, think about that. If you are going to buy maybe milk, it is natural that you buy bread and egg or maybe yogurt, right? Yes or no? Because these are clustered. That's why if you go to the shopping store, they keep closer because they are clustered. But the milk and vegetables will be too far, right? Because they are not closer. Make sense? So clustering is a natural practice that when you are doing this, you also can do this, right? So here you can say, hey, user click forgot username, and that you can repeat like the same thing, this row, and say forgot password or create open account. You can do that. I'm not going to do it, but if I want to do it, I can copy, like select the row. I can click here, is a row, select the row like that, select the row, and then you can say insert. You can say insert row below, insert row below. Let me repeat. So you can click outside. You can click outside, so row will be selected, and then you can say insert and then row below, and you can see that. Make sense? And then you copy this whole exercise like this, and you do Control V, like paste it, and here you can say forward password, and here you can say password. Make sense or no? And forward password. So sometimes it's a lot easier, but remember, you don't write. QA don't write this. Who writes? BA writes. But QA understand that. QA understand that. Right? Any questions so far? See, selecting row is just click here, and you can do Control C. Control C means copy. And then you can say insert row below. Insert row below, and you add the row. And then do Control V. Control V. Always remember, sometimes you don't have to type too much. So you can quickly do the work. Control C, Control V. Make sense? Now scroll down a little bit. And exception scenario. Here we got an error. We got an error. So in this sequence, when can we have an error? In this sequence, when can we expect error? So
Incorrect username.
Validation, right? Because this user is going to enter anyhow. When user is going to click on that validation part, error can happen because something is incomplete or something is incorrect, right? So we can say repeat step 1 to 5, right? 1 to 5. So you can say here, forgot thing here, repeat step 1 to 5, and now system shows an error message on login page. Now error message may change based on the problem, right? Because if you see here validations, now user is locked user, error message will be different. The user has to enter incorrect username and password, error message will be different. So we are not going to hard code the error message. We are going to make the things visible that there is an error message needed. So this will give a conversation what error message we need. So business analyst and what do you call the stakeholder will discuss about it. QA needs to know that, yes or no? Because QA needs to know that error message is showing up. QA also need to know where error message will show up. QA need to know what color the error message will be displayed, right? Will error message will be displayed on the top? Will error message will display inside? Will error message will be displayed in green color, red color? Make sense or no? So the conversation will start. If you are not understanding exception scenario, then you are not understanding negative test cases. Speak with me. Negative test. So there are two types of test case. Positive test case means you are happy. You are moving forward. Positive means happy. Negative means you are not moving forward. You are stuck. So negative means something you are doing incorrect or invalid. So there are two types of. Don't just test happy part. You also need to test negative part. Make sense or not? Negative scenario will be incorrect username, incorrect password, empty username, empty password. So you need to see that. And that time error message may vary. So QA needs to know the error message because how are you going to test otherwise? Let's say I give an error message XYZ. Is that right? You have to compare. That is what business want. If that's not the right, then in that case, it's not right. So it's very important. Make sense? We are not going to write other thing include and all, but requirement. In a business requirement, we will try here BR1 three consecutive incorrect login attempt. So three consecutive incorrect login attempt account will be locked. So this is very important for BA. He tried 3 times incorrect login, and he said, did the account login logged out or not? Means locked happen or not? Because if I try incorrect, again incorrect, you expect that account should be logged. Yes or no? If account is not logged, means somebody didn't do good job in programming. Do you guys agree or not? It's very simple. So that's why I'm saying don't worry about your career. You just think about what is the use case, understand use case, and then start creating test cases, which we'll do after break, but making sure. Right? Assumptions. So some assumption means we assume too good to be true. So for login, what should be our assumptions? What should be our assumptions? Like example, if I'm doing Bank of America, then we assume that site, which is the Bank of America. So we can say here, bank homepage is displayed in English. We assume, because if it is displayed in Germany or Chinese or I may not be able to read about it. So we assume. Why we are assuming that? Because no one has told like language we are using, right? If we are going to use different language, then we need to know, because user is going to type in English, right? Yes or no? So we are assuming, right? Now we are assuming account holder information or details. Let's do details. Account holder details are stored in repository. We'll say repository. We don't just say database, because it can be any form. Repository, it can be any form. It can be file form or it can be database form. So we assume it. Make sense? We assume error messages will be displayed in red color. Do you agree or not? So it's very simple. It's easy to assumptions. Got it? Right? Now, not an issue. If there is an issue, issues means if you know already there is a problem, you can write. For me, it's not a problem. Stakeholder, whom I'm going to talk if I have questions. So let's say Jason is the person whom I'm going to go and talk. If I have a question, he's the one who is giving the requirement. So I can talk. Jason, is there I understand correctly? So if you have a question, you can go to Jason. Remember stakeholder? So Jason is your stakeholder. If you have questions, Jason, can I come and meet for 15 minutes, ask some questions? You go over this document and say, this is what I'm going to test, this is I'm going to test, this is I'm going to test. Is that right? Am I missing anything? Jason will give you clarity. Make sense? So you need a one stakeholder who can review your test cases work, right? And status, normally BA will say the status is, let's say, approved. Approved means Jason has reviewed it and he liked that. Or he can say pending or in progress. Makes sense or not? But Jason is the one who can approve. Who prepared this document? BA. Who reviewed this document? Jason. Who used this document? QA, architect, developer. Makes sense? Do you think this is hard? This is what BA does most of the time. Most of the time, they document. And your starting point from QA will be here. So after break, we'll. Hello. That's good. Let's go. People on phone, so far, so good. I'm hoping everyone is enjoying so far. Right? Okay. So now, let's begin. So please, make sure you understand. So far, we have just covered use case, right? Let me call this other group. Right? We have only 10 minutes break. Because we don't want to take long break. We have a busy day today. Very busy day. Everyone is back. So thank you so much. Any questions so far while we are going through this journey? We cover how the test plan works. We also cover about how use case will work. Now we are going through the test cases. Please understand, as I mentioned before, anytime when you go for interview, context matter. So I'm going to show you the context. And I'm going to walk you through also, okay? So in order for us to do context, the best way to do context is, let me just draw it so you'll understand. If you want to do along with me, you can, not a problem. So anytime, like this, okay? In a templates, you can see here, the template we downloaded. There is another template is called, download these two templates. One is this one. This is the test case with the example. So we're going to download this two. So test case template, we'll download this and we'll download this file. So please download both one by one. Okay. So when you click on that, you download test case. So download that and you download this one. Please download both of them. So this is the download and this is download. Make sense? Okay.
Excuse me. Fine.
Sorry. Are you in a template? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now click on it. Right? When you click on it,
Okay.
you will see, and then you download one by one. You will download this one and you download this one. Right? Now please understand, while you're downloading this file, there are two types of file. One is the Word document file, which is as an example, and this is the empty. This file is your life. Based on my experience, you will be spending most of the time in writing test cases. So you need to be a little bit comfortable writing test cases. Hello, any problem? So, hello, are you able to download?
No.
You are in a forum or no? You are not in forum?
Yes.
Then you can click on that forum, right? Yes or no? Then are you able to see the pages like this or no? The pages like this? Like this? Sorry? It's okay to speak, so at least I can understand. Ramesh, can you help?
It is internet problem.
Internet problem.
Oh, you have internet.
Yes.
You have internet problem, huh? Are you connected to this one? Let me check. It's on. Okay. So while you are even downloading, make sure you understand there are only two files. We are downloading test case with example from template, and we are downloading Excel file. Now let me open the Excel while others are. See, remember we have templates, and from there we downloaded test cases, Word document, and Excel. So this is what we downloaded. In case if you're downloading, it takes a little time. Don't worry, it's easy when you download it. Now I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to show you what is test case template look like. Right? So if you click on it, you'll see test case will open. Again, this is the Word document. You will see that. Now, we are not going to do anything here right now. We are going to understand here. So let's pay attention, please. In case if you're not able to download, don't panic. Just see on the screen. Right? You are able to see my screen, everyone? Okay. The first thing first. Scenario, whenever somebody says scenario, is nothing but series of steps. Scenario is nothing but series of steps. Now, we said test scenario. So here login 1. So you can write login, no problem. Test case ID, just like a use case have ID, test case has a unique ID. So you can write any specific ID you want. So like example, normally people write test case ID with TC01 like that. TC02, TC stands for test case and then ID. It has to be unique, so it's easy for us to discuss. Test case description, positive test case. It means happy path. If it is a non-negative, then it's a login with negative test case. Make sense or no? The priority and then a prerequisite valid user account. Remember we talk about prerequisite? Remember, it's all you have written in your use case. You are reading that and translating that. I'm hoping everyone is clear with this thing. Any questions with this section? Good. Most company will give you template. They may give you Word template or they will give you Excel template. They will give you Word template or they will give you Excel template. Now, if you go down, you are saying, first thing you are saying, launch application. So this is called, these are called test step. What we call test steps. Steps means what step-by-step user is doing. So action, launch application. Input, this is your test data. You need a URL, right? Yes or no? And expected output. Expected output means what you are expecting. If I do this thing, I'm expecting Facebook page should show up. And then actual output, this will be empty initially. This will be empty. Do you guys agree or not? Why it is empty? Because when you write a test case, you're not executing the test case. Make sense or no? So think about it. When you write the test case, you will say, I'm doing login for Facebook, launch applications, and you write the URL. And this is your input, means you need to ask from the user or stakeholder. And you're expecting, when I do that, Facebook homepage should show up. Test browser, which browser you're using? This section will be empty. This section will be empty. Make sense or no? Now, test comment, it should be initially empty. Make sense? Why it is empty? Because you are writing test case. The second thing, enter correct email and password, which is the action, and you're going to need a test data. So you need two test data, email and password. Then you are expecting login. This will be empty. This will be empty. And this will be empty. Make sense or no? So when you write the test case, it will be just like this. The empty portion will not be there. This portion will not be there. This portion will not be there. So you write the test case and then you talk to Jason. In our case, Jason, say, hey Jason, is this test case is good for Happy Path? Jason will review and provide feedback. You update that. In your case, you can talk to your QA lead. QA lead will review and say, change this. So writing test case should not take more than like a couple of hours, technically speaking. And this will be your 80% of your time. Most of the time you will be writing test cases. So first you write test cases for primary scenario, alternate scenario, and error scenario. So you will be writing multiple test cases. So please understand, for one login, you can have many test cases. Make sense? Each test cases you will have an expectation. If this expectation met, then test case pass. Else test case is not pass, right? But when you write at that time, you don't know the actual, you don't know the result, and you do not know who's going to execute it. It is common that someone writes and someone executes. It's not the same person. Make sense? So initially you will be writing test case. When you write test case, the time business analyst. Hello. Please mute yourself. Yeah. Thank you. When business analyst is writing test case, use case, at the same time QA will write test cases. So when BA collect the requirement, at the same time QA write test case, because everything is fresh and it has to map. It's not like you wait for entire BA to complete everything, then you write. It's not. It's the same time, which is called V model. Speak with me. V model. V model means as soon as you collect requirement, you start thinking about test plan. Whenever you go detail, you write test cases. So as requirement is in a progress, your test cases should be in progress. So requirement and test cases should go hand to hand. Make sense? This way you find out if there is a missing requirement, if there is an incomplete requirement, or if there is an incorrect requirement. Make sense or no? So it has to go hand to hand. Yes.
In real life scenario, will the requirements be collected in the group?
Yes. So ideally, when you are working requirement gathering, you will be sitting there. You will be actually sitting there. Architect will be sitting there. Developer might be sitting there. But at least minimum BA will be sitting there. It's your role to say, can I join? I want to learn. I want to observe. It's okay. You should do that. Because BA, QA, they go hand to hand. Developer also can join, but sometimes, sometimes people say, once we are done, we will share with you. But once, at least some point of time, you will know what is the requirement. At early stage, you can write early stage your test cases. Make sense? So writing test case goes along with the requirement. Once the requirement is done and all test cases documented, then you will go through. What you call test case execution. So please understand. If let's say Mike writes this thing. Mike writes that now my name is Kevin, and let's say I want to execute. So I'll go follow the step one and say I type the Facebook URL in browser, and I look for expectations, and I'll say this is my actual. So if my actual and expectations are matching, I type this URL and I can see Facebook. If they are matching, then what am I going to say? Test case pass. And who executed? Kevin executed. Then I'll move to the next step. I'll follow the steps and expectations, whatever they documented in my actual, if it is matching, then I'll say test case pass and I write my name. But some reason, let's say my actual and expectations are not matching. Then what am I going to say? Test case fail. And I'll write some informations about what did I see differently. It is very common to take an image, picture. It is very common to take a picture in the sense of you show that, you were expecting success, but I saw error message. You were expecting red color error message, I saw green color error message. You were expecting error message here, I saw here. So you can take a picture, image, print screen, and that's very common. Make sense? So writing test cases can happen on week 1. Execution test case can happen at week 4 also. Make sense? But you cannot do at the same time. It doesn't make sense. Do you guys agree or not? Why? Because requirement gathering time development is not happen. Do you agree? So development will happen, then test case execution will happen. So requirement gather, that time you write test case. Then development will happen, and then you execute the test case. Make sense or not? Any questions so far in this content? Anything bothering you when you see the screen or template? Yes.
So here for the browser says IE. So if we want to do it like with a different browser, is it all going to be the same document, or each browser has a different document?
Very good question. So good question. So example, let's say your specification, customer say that it should work in IE, it should work on a Chrome. So you have 3 choices. One choice is if you are creating this document, then all test cases, let's example, you have 5 test cases. So 5. So in that case, you can create a document, one for IE, one for Firefox, one for Safari. You should do that. You know why? Because if something is broken, I will have context that it is broken in IE. And if something is passing, then I have context that it is working in Firefox. So it's a good idea to have a separate document. This way you can clarify. Some people become creative that they create here IE, Firefox, Safari like that, and you don't have to duplicate. You can say pass, and fail. You can be creative, like create a column which browser you're testing. Some people also do mobile also. Some people do operating system. So you need to be creative. If something you duplicate work, because if you do duplicate, like example 5, and if you're making change, if you need to make a 5-time change, which is not a good idea. So you can be creative. You can say whatever the specification browser you have, you can identify that. And when you give error, you be clear which error you got, which browser you got error. Make sense? So you can create additional column here that IE, Safari, Opera, Google Chrome, and then version, operating system, mobile, and like you can create additional column. That might be simpler because in one file you can have a holistic view, how many it passed and how many it failed. So you can do that also. So you have 2 choices. I would go with the columns because it will minimize the work and it gives you holistic view that it worked for this browser and did not work for this browser. Good. Any questions so far on phone? Now, let me show you another example, which we have here, which we downloaded Excel file. Remember, we downloaded Excel file also. So now, let me double click on this test cases template file, which I downloaded from our forum. So if I double click on it, this is the Excel template. Again, for your project, you can use Excel. I would prefer that would be better. Many people use Word document, but majority company I have seen use Excel. It is also common that people use Jira too. They create a Jira also, but Excel is very popular. So if you're going for QA manual, if somebody asks how you write test cases, you can say that I write in Excel also, and that's fine. Or you can use Jira. Now here, a little bit different template, but it's concept is very simple. Oops, what happened? Did I close it? No. Now you can see here, same concept. So first of all, your company logo here, project name, and module name. Remember we talked about module, shopping cart, product search, user management, order management. So this module I'm testing. Release version, those who have taken Agile class, you know what I'm talking about, release version. Test design by. Design by means Mike, and date which thing, and executed means Kevin, and with it is not, it is common that design happen first and the execution will happen later. Make sense? So it's okay. So when you write the test cases, you may not be the one who is going to execute the test case. So make sure you write in a proper form so there won't be any questions later on. Make sense? Now, preconditions, I'm hoping you are pretty clear. Dependency. So if you are having a dependent system, write down the dependency. So if there is a problem on dependency, would you be able to execute the test case? No. So you need to make sure before you execute the test case, you communicate with the dependent system. Hey, I'm going to execute the test case. Please have those dependency up and running. This time I'm going to execute the test case. So you need to communicate with them. It's a good idea. Listen carefully. In industry, it is common that they use word test cycle. Speak with me. Test cycle. Test cycle. Please understand. Test cycle. Let me draw it so because this is very, very important topic. People on phone, please pay attention. This is sometimes asked in interview and people sometimes don't answer this correctly. So let me open. Yeah. So normally in a company, what happens? There is a development cycle. Now development cycle, if they use 2 weeks, so this is called sprint, which is normally 2 weeks sprint. So they use sprint, 2 week sprint, development cycle. Now, when they do development cycle, they will get an increment. What they get? Increment, which is called working code. What do you call? Working code. So as soon as development team does the work, they will do all those requirement documented work. They will do the work, and now they are doing increment. Now, what you're gonna do? You're gonna create a cycle. So you will also have almost similar as development. So you will be following a little bit behind. Why? Because until development happen, you are not gonna do test execution, right? So you are doing test documenting here. So you're documenting test here. Make sense? So you're writing test here. So here you can write test cases. But you don't have a way to execute the test case because system is not ready. But once system is ready, these guys are working in their development environment, right? And now this thing is available. So you use this system, and now you're going to put these system in a QA environment. Make sense or no? So you are now going to do in a QA environment, and now here you have a cycle. Cycle means you're not going to take all 2 weeks. You are going to say that these 2 days is my first cycle. It means I'm going to run all my test case in this first 2 weeks. Yes or no? So 2 days. Now you run it. What will happen when you run? Do you think everything will be passed, or everything will fail, or some pass and some fail? Some pass and some fail. So what happens? You did a one test cycle. So this is one test cycle. Please understand. So in that case, let's say 20% test fail. So that will go as a defect. And that time, whatever development team is working now, development team are going to work on a second development cycle. Yes or no? So your finding will go as a defect. So they will take as a defect, and you give them opportunity to fix the code in next couple of days. Make sense? So they're going to fix it. Then you will say now next cycle will start. So you will start. So the reason you are doing cycle, so you are giving other people a time to fix it. When they fix it, you test again. When you test again, do you think all pass or some pass and some fail? Some pass and some fail. So that time again the defect will go. And this time you were going to give 1 day and say, now this is the test cycle 3. Make sense or no? So why you are doing cycle means duration. It is 2 days, it can be 1 day, it can be 3 days. Inside you run the test case, and if it passes, you don't have to complain. But if it fails, then it has to go as a defect. And that defect normally follow on a same sprint. So you immediately get the fix. If you get a fix here, then you can test it out. So now whatever you tested here, you can say this is going, so this is certified. So that will go to the next cycle, which is called UAT. So that will go to UAT. Why? Because here customer will come and start testing that. Customer will start testing. Make sense or no? So this environment, you are going to UAT. So here customer start. UAT stands for user acceptance test. So this is the customer. So technically speaking, UAT will be much stable. Technically speaking, QA is old code, almost 2 weeks old code. But whatever you do that, testing will go to UAT. And it's a developer goal is to fix it. And then your goal is to run test cycle 1, test cycle 2, test cycle 2. So you're going to communicate developer that I'm going to run three test cycle, give some bandwidth. If I find defect, you can fix it. So when I complete my test cycle 3, 90% things will be working. Yes or no? And you will go to the customer and say 90% is working, but there are 10% is not working. So that is called known defect. Speak with me. Known defect. You ask customer that this 10% is not working. That will be fixed by developer maybe in next sprint because they will run out of time. Yes or no? So there will be always an opportunity that whatever the defect is not fixed here might be fixed in the next. And this cycle goes in a very harmony. It goes very harmony. Developer does work, you test it, UAT. Goal of the exercise, we go to UAT, much more stable code. If everything is good, if everything is work and customer like it, then we'll go to production, which is the next production cycle. Make sense or no? So production cycle only goes through if customer like, UAT cycle, then they will go to production. It is also possible when customer does, they find defect. If they find defect, it will go to the developers. Make sense or no? So this way, if customer find defect, it will go to, but you will only go to productions after everything is working, or you can say known defect. Sometimes you still go to production knowing that these defects are not critical. If defects are critical, listen carefully. If defects are critical, then customers say don't go to production. Wait for the next cycle. So you may have a couple of UAT cycles, or you may wait till the fix are fixed. So sometimes we call blocker, or sometimes we call showstopper. Showstopper means we don't go to production. Make sense? So how many environment we talk about? QA environment, dev environment, UAT environment, production. So you as a QA, you need to have all environments. So you do regression here. We talk about, remember, you do regression here, but here you're going to do smoke test or sanity test and all, right? When you are testing all those functional aspects, right? It's always debatable. Is it going to be white box testing or black box testing? It's a debatable. If you just test like this thing without understanding, it's a white box testing, and with understanding, black box testing. So there is not much difference between white box versus black box. If you know that, then you will be able to narrow down where the problem is. So ideally, later on, it should be white box testing, but sometimes you will do black box testing also without understanding. But your goal is to make sure whatever customer test, you should be able to test it. Questions? Good. So would it be a good idea to write here somewhere cycle? So you can write here cycle also, test cycle. So you can say test cycle 1, test cycle 2, and you can also add a column. When did you find defect? In the first cycle, second cycle, or third cycle? So example, if you found defect here, that's called test cycle 1. If you find defect here, test cycle 2. And if you find defect here, test cycle 3. So when you do test cycle 1, you might be doing all testing. Yes or no? But when you do 2, would you do all or regression?
Regression.
Regression, because you only going to check the impact area, because this guy provided some fixes. They didn't provide all, this provided some fixes. So you're going to do regression because you don't have to test everything. And then when you do here, again, you're going to do regression. So you're testing time will be less because you're not testing everything, you're testing small thing. Are we clear? Now, common sense question. In this cycle, you got 100 defect. And this cycle you got, this cycle you got, let's say 80 defect. And this cycle you got only 0 defect. Sorry, 10 defect. What did you learn? What did you learn?
So the first time you found 10 defect,
10
second
defect.
time you found 80, and third time you found 100.
Mm-hmm.
That means the first time we didn't do the right testing.
That is also possible. Or
The code was introduced with more of the bugs.
yeah, so they introduce, these people are breaking, they're fixing something, but they're breaking something, right? So both side learning happen. Did we test everything here? If yes, then they are the culprit, means developers are breaking it. Makes sense or not? So they have to do retrospective what's going on. If we have tested, let's say, 5% of test cases, then naturally we will find more defect as we go. If you are testing less upfront and then later you do more testing, you're not giving developer enough time to react. It means your UAT cycle will be suffering. And then you cannot go to production because all are bad code. Yes or no? So QA has to work extra time because if developer gives you last day, then you have to test it because you cannot just drop in UAT without testing. So mostly QA are busy during weekend. And during weekend are busy because most of the cycle deployment will happen in a weekend or late night. So you will be busy, but at the same time, other day you will be free too. So you need to be adaptive. Adaptive means if somebody says, "Can you test it out?" You cannot say no. You need to be adaptive because your goal is to make sure at right time customer get the delivery because we are agile. So Dev, QA, everyone has to go in harmony. Of course, not every weekend will be screwed up, but you should be well prepared that most likely Friday night you start deployment. So at least Saturday morning you will be busy also. If everything goes well, no problem. But if it doesn't go well, Sunday also you will be busy. Make sense? So I kind of draw it everything about how cycle works. In interview, people will ask you, have you done how many cycles you do? Normally you do 2-3 cycles because you give them opportunity to fix it. Because if you test it, guaranteed something will not work. So the test cycle will give them opportunity. So you are going to communicate them when will be cycle 1, when will be cycle 2, and when will be cycle 3. So they are well prepared. Makes sense? So they are well prepared with their fixes. Yes.
From your experience,
Mhm.
can you give a example of a test case
Mhm.
where it was very long?
Mhm.
Like ours is very simple. We
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
login, which is
You always do simple test case. You don't do long test case. Why? Because think about that. Goal of the exercise is to celebrate the success. So if I write long test case, 100 step test case, if one step is not working, entire test is not working. Do you agree or not? So normally we write 2 or 3 steps of test cases. Why? Because you need to celebrate the success. So example, many people what they do, shop like end to end. So if you do end to end, like example, start product search, then add item to the shopping cart, the pay, shipping. If one thing is not working, entire thing is not working. So instead of we break it down, product search, add item, payment, shipping, you break it. The reason you break it down, so at least you can say this portion is working, only this portion is not working. So when you somebody recreate that scenario, it will be tiny, and your regression will be tiny. So test case will not be hundreds of step test case. Max maybe 8 or 10 steps. 8 or 10 step max you will have.
And then other thing is this we're talking about a website.
Yeah, it can be for mobile also, right? Same concept for mobile.
Like application.
Yeah, it's a test. This will not differ between mobile versus this concept will be remain same. So you can see here same concept. Test case number, title, summary, steps. What you are doing, user is doing. What data you expect from customers. What is your expected result? And preconditions, actual result. Remember, this will be free. Oh, sorry, initially empty. When you document, when you execute that time, you will fill up that. If your expected result and actual matching, then test case pass. Otherwise, test case fail.
It seems very simple.
It is simple.
Great job. What is the
Mhm.
most difficulty?
Communications. The most important thing is communication. How many times I ask, do you have any questions? Guys, what do you think? Even though we are 30 30 students, only 6 students are speaking so far. Did you notice that? So this is to create a more problem. Because then you write in a homework, I'm confused. What is confused means? You are not clear. Why you are not clear? Because you didn't ask anything. Email is the last thing in the world you do. People are in front of you. You should ask questions, right? Most QA are successful if they ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you will have a hard time because you assume so much. Then you will be, and trust me, people will not like that because if you last minute you say this is not working, you're going to create a challenge for them. So communication is the biggest challenge QA experience because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know what are key stakeholders. They don't know the dependency. They don't know precondition. They don't know post-condition. So they did not understand anything and they start writing test case. So that's the problem. First, give a context. What you're testing, why are you testing, who are your key stakeholders, what are the dependency, what is your test data, what are the steps are you clear? If not, get clarity before you do. Otherwise, trust me, if you can speak English, you can do work as a QA. QA manual role is quite easy. The only expectation is you know how to speak and read and write English because you are going to use majority time Excel, right? And a little bit terminology, right? The terminology which we are learning then. So it is not that hard. That's why getting QA manual job is quite easy compared to automation job. Any other questions?
As far as technology, anything besides desktop and mobile that you will be using as the QA manual?
Jira. Jira is the most popular people use. Otherwise, Excel is very common. Excel, and then if you are going to do like some kind of what you call automation, then you programming. Yeah, automation takes a lot of time, but manual doesn't take time. What you are right now, if you write test case, if let's say somebody write a test case 50, some people may take 2 or 3 days to write a test case, and if I need to execute, I will take 2-3 days. But that's pretty much it. So after 3 days, I may have narrowed down what test case passed, what test case failed, and then again next cycle. So it's not that complex work you are doing. And it's a fear factor which you have in mind. It's okay to try and then it's experience. Initially, you have to go through the template. Good is they will give you working template. So working template means somebody will give you the filled information and then say do similar like this. That's it. You start from there. Make sense? Do you guys think this is hard to write an Excel file? Extremely easy. Do you guys agree or not? Most important thing is start, and that's why when you do tonight's homework, you are going to write 2 test cases. Now you can pick any test case, and now you are going to do the project. So whatever you are doing tonight for your test plan or test cases will be helpful for your project. Make sense? So you should review. You should revise. Means is it the proper template, proper thing? Many people write here notes in the sense of image. You take an image, you write some text, what you saw, log or screens, what did you see? So that information will really help to developer to reproduce that scenario. Make sense? Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yes.
So when QA people are testing those products which are developed by developers, do the developers wait for us to come back or they move on to the next project right away?
They will never wait for you because remember that they should not even wait for you because you remember that I showed you in this diagram that they have their own cycle. They're going to continue that because they are in a dev environment.
So wouldn't that be like more work produced for them when we send the a decline or fail test?
Yeah, so they'd always reserve like a 15% capacity for defect management. So they do 15% for defect management to support you, and they will take 85% capacity for the new work. So when they do new work, they take that. If there is too many defects coming, they will reduce to 60% new work and 40% defect if they have a lot of defect coming, right? They will adjust. That's why they are learning from this process, but they are going parallel. You will be behind. QA will be behind now, but the reason you are behind because unless they develop it, you cannot test it. They will also test their own part. Remember, they will test their own part before they will give you. So you will have 2 type of checking. Developer will do their own testing and QA will do their testing. When QA tests it, then customer will test. So there are many level of testing happen before it goes to production. So quality will be significantly improved. Yes.
Thank you.
What does it mean to go to production? Exactly.
It means real customer will use. Real customer. So Bank of America, Jason, remember Jason? Jason, we have in written in our that's the customer Jason is going to test here. This is Jason is going to test here. That's the Bank of America's customer. But then when they go to production, then normal customer like you and me will be using. Any other questions? Make sense or no? See, guys, I can tell you this is like a extremely rudimentary way I'm teaching right now with the drawing and all. And if you watch, you will never be confused. Remove the word confusion. If you are using this word confusion, I really don't like that. The reason you don't like, I like, because you're not questioning. If you don't question, everything is confusing. But if you question, you get clarity. See, there are people in the class are asking question because they think I'm not very clear. Let me ask question. So immediately you get the answer. And then you do homework without understanding, you will be confused. Trust me, you will be confused, and then it's not going to create a strong ecosystem. Your clarity will give you productivity, and productivity will give you job. Very simple. So you need to be clear, and that's why I'm giving you recording. Watch multiple times. If you're not very clear, watch 3 times, 5 times, 7 times. But then you will be clear. Then you do homework. You're doing with a project also. So you group people have a WhatsApp. Hey, I'm not very clear. Also ask question. Now, so we're done with the test cases aspect. I want you to do the test cases. You and your group will do. Next week we'll do also one review. So we are not done yet. Sounds good? Now, go back to our template. There is a 2 template I want you to download. One is the test plan. Download the test plan and then download this template. So download these 2 templates. So when you download this template, so I downloaded 2 templates. Now, first I'll go to Papa Zone, right? See, I like to give you templates and all because when you go in industry, you won't be surprised. Why? Because you feel like I know this thing. Makes sense? Huh? I know this thing. So far, so good. Can I count? So Papa Zone is a field template. You are for reference purpose. You will be doing this thing part of tonight homework. You can see that this group is here, right? All of them got a job. And Krishna, we hire her actually. Krishna, we hire her. She worked with us for 6 months. Rima was the first person. The person came from India, and that was like after 4 months she took a training. She was so much scared when she took a training, and she did this project long time back. You can see the date also, and she was the first person got a job. So right now she is working on a Blue Cross Blue Shield QA manual. She didn't even complete entire training. She live in Shambhala. But what I'm trying to say that these people get a job, then you can get too. And she did not have much background. She had a BCom, Bachelor's of Commerce, and she had a very limited, experience of US because she came in US in 4 months and she took a training. So it was not like she knows in and out. But what they did differently, I can tell you, these 4 people work together. Abeda, she works actually in Wisconsin, very close to Wisconsin, Kenosha. And Sindhuja was in Shambhala also. But Abeda, she is driving 1.5 hours from Anusha to here to class. So 1.5 hours she drive to come to the class, and then she take 3 hour class, and then she drive one back again 1.5 hours. So for 3 hour class, she drive 3 hours, and she never miss a class. And if you talk to these people, I'll bring them, in our discussions sometimes. They were not different than you. They are almost same as you. Lots of questions, lot of curiosity, lot of doubt about will I get a job or not. But they put effort. That's what one thing I like about it, and that's why you can see their example you are seeing in front of you. So that is this document. The first thing, every test plan will have purpose. So test plan purpose is to provide clarity. What we are doing, why we are doing, how we are doing, for whom we are doing. So people who are going to read, developers, the stakeholders, they will be very clear what you're going to do. So test plan is a purpose. And the write about project details. What is this project you're going to do? Right? Write this project detail. Again, you write some summary about it. If you don't know, talk to BA. You may not know everything. So talk to BA, talk to Jason, talk to your stakeholders so you can write project summary. Now you can see an item to be tested, which is item to be tested is called in scope. What do you call in scope? And not tested is called out scope. Make sense, huh? And you write down what you're going to test. Part of that you can write out and whose responsibility for this and whose responsibility like that. Document that. Make sense? Now you go further and item not tested. So this is not tested, right? And special rewards and final whatever is not tested. Now approach. So they have a strategy that will do manual and automations. Now who's going to do what? So you can see they define this person will be testing this is thing. So you get an idea who is going to do what, right? Type of testing, regression testing, testing environment. They use name again. They have used because they had a little bit programming background, so you can define that. Scroll down, then milestone, which is the timeline. Every project should have a timeline where you need to specify what is your key milestone. So key milestone one, this is the module. Effort will be this thing, start date and end date. Make sense? Start date and end date. Start date and end date. So if you can monitor where we are, how we are, so you can see are we behind or are we on a track, right? So you find that. Module part, what are the things you're going to include in that module? Define that modules, right? Scroll down and that completes that part also. Now, if I go to our second template, which is this one, empty template, which is did I download it? I thought I downloaded it. Yeah. So the second one, which is this template. Now double click on that. You will be filling this template with your team members. You will be working with them and you're filling this template. So this is the template. Make sense? You write your project name here, right? And in the tester information, you write your informations. Make sense or not? Now scroll down and you follow the template, like who is the person, right? Example, to maintain a list of the change. So if you're making a change, initially the first word will be initial version. But if you keep making change, make sure you change the version history, who made the change, why they made the change, right? Maintain the history. So reader will have an idea what you're doing. The red color you need to remove later on because this is just for information only. Now approval list, who are going to approve? Write your project informations and then who are the key stakeholder you write, because someone will be reviewer, someone will be approved. Until Jason approve, you cannot move forward. So most of the time, test plan will be developed by QA lead. QA manager normally approve that. So QA manager will approve after consulting all stakeholders. So in our case, Jason will be reviewing. It is also possible BA will be reviewing. Once they review, they see that we are not missing any test cases, then they will approve it. Make sense? Now you go further. Any document you refer. So mostly you are referring to BRD, business requirement document, or use case requirement document, right? Or application design document, right? Anything you have read about it, refer those documents because someone needs to know more detail about the project. You can get that information. Scroll down. Now you go further here. Same concept as we talk about. Here, I define here just idea, like you can define. When you say execution strategy means how you're going to execute it. Test strategy means what means when you do testing, something you do manual, something you do automation, something you do parallel, like that's the test strategy. Or you're going to do incremental, you're going to do weekend. Explain about, are you going to do cycle testing? What kind of testing you're going to do? Execution testing means something you're going to do local testing, something you're going to do automated script testing, someone you're going to do manual testing, you're going to do different browser testing you're going to do, or mobile platform you're going to do. How you're going to do, this is the execution. And test management, when you write test cases, what you write it first version, and then when you improve the version, how you maintain the test cases. So you will define the version date, and then if something is incorrect, how you're going to add that. If something is incomplete, how you're going to add that. So that's a test management. So you will say, first we'll write the test cases, then we'll work with the stakeholder to review it. If there is a missing test case, we'll add it. If there is an incomplete, we're going to change it. and then this is going to the life cycle. If requirement is changing, so the test cases will change also, right? Our goal is to make sure requirement and test cases goes hand to hand. If requirement change and test case did not change, then we have a call. Remember we talk about the fertilizer thingy? We are testing with the old way, everything passed, and new way system is having a new requirement. We did not change the test cases. So write those. How are you gonna do that? About project overview, audience, who's gonna read this thing? Some instructions are here. It will help you to read about it. So please do read it with your groups. Test objective. So test objective is, our simple is to find as many bugs as possible. Our goal is to fail fast and fail often. Fail fast and fail often. Fail fast means as soon as you run the first test cycle, find all the defects possible. But you don't want to fail in UAT or production. So that's it is. Test assumptions, whatever the key assumptions we have, we talk about cycle, right? Every cycle we get a quality code, right? We assume that. We assume the developer will do the first line of defense or quality, and then they will do. We assume the developer will prioritize the defect, and then they'll provide timely manner the fixes. If we run test cycle 1, we found 10 defects. If developer doesn't fix it, there is no point to run test cycle 2. Yes or no? Because if you don't see the fix, what's the point? So have those assumptions, make sure developers are very clear about it. Go further, and we talk about functional test, we talk about UAT, we talk about, right, who is going to test user-wise, right? Test principles, again, if you have, define that. And purpose scope, right? Who is going to do what type of thing, right? And if you want functional testing, there's a template. Define that, go through the acceptance criteria. Now, there is one thing I want to make sure people will ask in interview. One is called exit criteria, and one is called suspension criteria. So when you do test plan, there are two questions that are very important: exit criteria, and one is a suspension criteria. So in test plan, you clearly write when should I stop testing further. So if I try to do login with correct username and correct password, if it is not working, I'll exit that. It means the system is not even worth to test, because the critical test case itself is not working. You exit. Exit means now you're not going to process. So like example, if you start if you type the homepage URL and you get an error, exit. System is not stable. Means if the environment is not stable, there is no need to run the test. Do you guys agree or not? So clarify the exit scenario means if environment is not ready, if critical, these three use cases are not working, we will not test it. The suspension criteria means you are running the test, right? You're running the test and most of the test cases working, but there are some test cases not working and you need some informations or you need some data. You think you can get it, so you get suspense for this time and then you resume. Make sense or no? So suspension allows resume. So think about that. I'm preparing a food. I don't know how to prepare food, but just pretend. I'm preparing a food. Let's say I'm preparing food and my son comes. Am I exiting or suspending? Right? I'm not throwing all and starting, right? I'm suspending it. Stop all the stoves. And now I'm calling. Once I'm done, I'm resuming. Yes or no? So that is called suspension criteria.
And hold.
Kind of hold, yeah. Right? But that's the example. If I wanna go to store and I wanna buy a laptop, and my budget was only $800, and the guy say all laptops are about $1,200. Will I be suspending or exiting? Because nothing is in my criteria, not my cup of tea. Because if I want to do something, I need to have some opportunity. If there's no opportunity at all, then I'll come out. So suspension criteria, you have some opportunity to resume. In exit criteria, you don't have a resume because environment is not stable or data is not available or key use case is not working. You just exit out. And when you exit out, make sure those conditions are very clear. You communicate the rest of the people, so rest of the people can help you. So now you resume later on. But exit, you spend a little time. In suspension, you are making use of the prior work and continuing. Make sense? Again, they kind of going very close to, so sometimes it's kind of considered as a one. We can debate. In exit, you are not able to start. In suspension, you are starting and you are stopping. Make sense? There is a difference between it. Suspension means you made a 50% progress. Now you're taking pause. and then you're continuing. Make sense? In exit, you are not even able to do 1%. Then you are exiting. Are we clear? This is a question often asked in interview. How you define? You define in test plan. So every stakeholder can review when you're going to exit, when you're going to suspend. Are we clear? Questions so far? Good. Now, your test cases has to be reviewed and approved. Make sure it's reviewed and approved, and then you deliverable. Test deliverables means you provide test plan, you provide test cases. You also provide script. You provide communication to your stakeholders, weekly or monthly. You also provide test summary. So when we talk about deliverables means you as a QA, what you're going to give to everyone. So first you're going to give test plan. Are we clear? You are going to do test cases. Are we clear? Then once you run the test case, you're going to provide test summary. You're going to provide test result. You're going to provide test data. If you're going to do automation, you're going to provide test script. Make sense or no? Right? So test log also. So you are responsible to provide all those things. Test plan, test cases, test log, test summary, test matrix, right? All those things you will be providing because this is what your responsibility is. So sometimes in interview people ask, what is your role as a QA? So your role is to first prepare test plan, prepare test cases, right? Then perform various kind of testing, functional, non-functional. User expected testing, you can have also load testing. And when you run that, you are preparing some script. You provide that test data or you test results, test matrix. So test results means you ran 100 test cases, this path is test summary is 50% test cases pass and 50% did not pass. Make sense or no? So sometimes you may be blocked also. Block in the sense of you're not able to run test case because one test case is not working. So rest of the test case you cannot do it. Example. In Amazon, when I do product search, product search is not working, then I cannot do test shopping cart testing. Yes or no? So product search is blocking shopping cart testing. I cannot do payment testing. I cannot do shipping testing. But once product search is fixed, I can do other testing. Make sense? So how many pass? How many fail? How many you did not execute? How many block? Right? Those are the things is summary. Make sense or no? So summary is very simple, like a statistics. You have 100 test case, 30 you ran, 20 pass, 10 fail, 50 means X block, and X we have pending, which we're going to do next week. Make sense? Any questions so far? So far, so good. Moving along, and then other information. So try, you don't have to put all your thing, but as much as you can do is, I have two examples. One is template, and one is the empty one. The empty one has lot of things. Here we talk about exit criteria. Make sense? What is exit criteria? You read about it, you will know. Right? Say 100 test case script executed, 95 pass, right? So define that part also. Test cycle we talk about. What is cycle means? It's kind of window. Yes or no? Right? Can you do window like this back to back? Can I do? It's okay to say yes or no.
No.
Why no? That's correct answer. Why no? Why shouldn't we do test cycle back to back like this?
Because you need to move it to the UAT part.
No,
And
that's not.
You need to give time for developers to fix the bugs.
You need to give a time to the developer to fix it. What's the point to do test cycle? See, I asked open-ended question. With just few minutes back, we draw the picture, but out of 30 students, only one student can answer that. What was the point of it? Why was I explaining here? I'm not telling story, guys. Neither is the movie going on. This is the real life. Why am I giving here gap? We talk about the bug fix and all. Do you guys agree or not? So if you can forget in just 1 hour, how are you going to do well in an interview, right? So make sure you pay attention, active participation. Tech cycles should have a gap. So bug fix can happen, developer can provide release. So you can give them enough time. And these are pre-planned activity. It's not ad hoc activity. So they know they are going to reserve capacity. We talk about 15% capacity reserve for bug fixing. Good. Okay, so moving along, and then later on you can see test metrics. We talk about some people need certain metrics. Go and read about that. I kind of explain all the concept here, but it will help you. This is like a defect tracking aspect. So who is going to create a defect, who is going to get that, and how the process will work. Right? We'll talk about next week this part. Right? Detailed things are there. You can go through that. It will help you a lot about how this is work. Make sure you read these instructions. Right? This test plan you must know for QA manual interview, because in QA manual interview only two things are more often asked: test plan and test cases. They're most often asked. So test plan will be, I would say, lot more questions you may expect from interview. So that's why I created a video, I explain, and test cases also. If you know that 80 to 90% you will be able to clear the QA manual interview. Of course, they will ask a little bit about Agile Scrum, a little bit about database, but most important, test plan and test cases. So that complete my part of the test plan. Any questions? Before we do one last exercise and then we'll call a day. We have not covered JSON and all, so I have to change your homework. Let me just change the homework first because I was not able to cover JSON and all. So I wanted to cover JSON, but it's running out of time. So let me just make sure I don't give you homework for the JSON and all. So this is what we cover. Test plan we cover, scope and all we cover, how define risk we cover, writing test case. So there's no homework for JSON. That's perfect. No problem. So now let's do one test plan exercise and then we'll call a day. So go to Google and type this thing, Tom Planner, TOM Tom Planner, Tom Planner, TOM Tom Planner, Planner, Tom Planner, Tom Planner, and press enter. Now you should be able to see Tom Planner somewhere near the bottom here. It is called Tom's Planner. Do you see that? Click on that. Tom's Planner. Tom's Planner. Click on it. This is we are going to do this thing to provide high level schedule, not a detail, high level. As a QA, you need to know high levels, how to create a schedule. You will learn in 10 minutes. Okay, very simple, very easy. Make sure you pay attention. Okay. Now, here you do need to sign up. It's a free to sign up. So just sign up. So click on the sign up. If you have not used this, use the free, use your email address and password and you will be able to join. I think I have an account, so I can log in. So I'm able to log in.
I can just say it again. Where do we have to go for after Tom's Planner?
Sign up. There's a button here called sign up, right? You sign up. There's a button there. Sign up, enter your email address and password, and you will come here. Give me thumbs up if you are here. It will take 10 minutes. So thank you. Thank you. Tom's Planner, search and then click on the sign up here, sign up, and then you will be able to join. This is a pretty good tool. It's a free tool and it's a virtual tool also. So you and your team member can call, when you're in Zoom meeting, you guys can do that. So while others are joining, making sure you understand this brown thingy is a category, which is called milestone. So big category. So example, if you're doing document, then this is a document. And if you're doing some execution, then you can do execution. Or you can say planning, executions like that. You can create a category of your choice. So anytime you write here, that is not a task. This is not a task. This is the category. So in category, there will be a multiple task. And that this is you are writing here task. And this brown thing, you write the category. So here, you just click on the first here and write a category called planning. So start typing planning. Make sense? Easy? start typing planning. Now, in this planning, whatever the things you are going to do, you can write down. So, example, I'm saying review use case, right? Press enter. Identify stakeholder. Enter. Prepare test cases and prepare test plan. I'm just giving an example, right? So you can see here, this is the category. This is the category, and these are the tasks. These are the tasks. So first of all, you can do the similar thing here, execution, and you can create a execute login test case, or you execute test cases for this, prepare test summary, prepare test log, whatever, test data, whatever. Here you can give a category called execution. Let me do that so it will be easy. So execution. So prepare test data, prepare test script, execute test cases, prepare test report or matrix, whatever it is. So you get an idea. Now you might notice that this is the main category, which we call, sometimes we call milestone, and this is another milestone, big category. Now milestone do not have a time, it's just a checkpoint. Milestone means checkpoint, but task have a timeline. So the way you do is you identify who's going to work on that. So like example, in my case, this is review use case all. So you'll say use all, and identify stakeholder all, and test cases, let's say prepare test cases, let's say Mike and Amy is working. So you write down, and prepare test class, let's say Kevin is working. So you can write resources of people who are working. Make sense, huh? See how easy it is, right? See, you're not going to learn anything which is very, very hard. It's all our approach, how you make things easy, right? If you do know this thing, people will really see, wow, you're knowing very well. Now, what you need to do here, you see the February. These item I want to start instantly. So what I'm going to do, today is what, February 4th, and Monday is February 6th. So if I want to say I'm going to start on February 7th, please pay attention. I move on 7 and I right click on it and I say add time block. I move to 7, right click on it and I say add time block. Add time block. Add time block. So you right click on it and I say add time block. Make sense, huh? So add time block, and you use any color of your choice, and then you drag it. How long will it take? So this will review use cases will take, let's say, this many 3 days. So you're showing here you're going to take start was 7 and you're going to end 9. So 7, 8, 9. Now you may say, why 3 days? It's just your choice. If it's going to take 1 week, drag and drop. Do you think extremely hard? Right click, drag, right click, create a block and drag like that. Do you think easy? Now do the same thing. Identify stakeholder. We can do parallel activities. So right click on a 7th, add time block, and you can use different color. And you may say like it might take a little less time. So you can say 7 like that. So you can define. So this is called parallel activity. This is called parallel activity. But test case I can only write when I know all those things. So now I'm going to right click on 10th and then add time block. And I use other color of my choice. And I can say test cases may be taking this long time. Make sense, son? So you can see here, these are parallel activity and this is sequential activity. Means after this is done, I'm going to do this activity. Now you can do the same thing for others. So like example, preparing test plan, I can start early and I can finish a little bit late. So I can define that like this. Make sense? So pretty good so far. Did I take longer than as usual? It's 140 right now. Because 2 o'clock I have class, right? Oh my God. Only 10 minutes. Okay. Now, please understand, in this exercise, if I want to give a little bit extra time here, you right click here on a column. Please do so. You right click on a column and add special column. Add special column. Right click on a column, add special column, and add start date and end date. Add start date and end date. Add start date and end date. So it's going to give you nice start date and end date. Make sense or no? Now, if you want to add a status, you can say to do or complete. Like example, this is complete, right? This is in progress. You can provide the status also. Progress. Make sense or no? So you can define. You can also make like this thing a little bigger. Drag this guy like this. You can make it bigger like that. And then once you complete this thing, you have to do all. Once you complete everything, right? You can take a print screen. So every computer has a snip. You can search a snip, SNIP, snip. Every computer has a snip tool, snip. You can search snip, and you right click on snip and say task, add to task, pin to task, pin to task, pin to task. So when you do so, you will see your spin is showing up here. Yes or no? And once you show up here, you click on that and you click on new. So once your snip tool shows up here, you click on the new. And once you click on new, then you drag and draw a square and then put this thing in your PowerPoint and you're done, right? When you drag and drop, it will create an image which you can take anywhere on your Word document or anywhere, and you can just do Control V. So wherever you want, like example, I want to put it in anywhere I want to put because it's in my memory. So if I go to, let me minimize here my screen. Let's say I have taken this thing. I have in my memory. Now let's say if I want to go to my screen, if I want to go here, I want to put here Control V, so I can get that. Make sense? So do yourself. So my humble request is work on your project with your team and start making a progress. Right? Next week we're going to cover JSON, XML, and HTML advanced. We're going to cover that. But test plan, test case, and use case we covered tonight. So hoping that you got an idea. Start working. Bring your questions. Your project is due on February 25. Okay. Thank you so much for your active participation. Now see you guys soon. We will be starting database class on Wednesday. So please come on Wednesday. Please do come Wednesday. All students who are taking this class should come on Wednesday, which is the database class is starting on Wednesday 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. I'll add the Google class informations. I'll also